Nut soup with Famunda chips.
Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, everybody, right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. We've had an exciting week. Lots of stuff to talk about, not only in comic books, but in movies, television, all sorts of things popping off here now. And we do know about the Claremont stuff, and Doc and I already recorded a video. It'll be up later today talking about the Chris Claremont controversy, but that is rather recent, and we don't have it on the docket today, but if it is brought up, we will get to it. I have a wonderful panel as always. Returning, we have Gabe from Weird Science and Comical Opinions. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's going to be a nice but hot Saturday, so I'm looking forward to getting into some hot topics.
Absolutely, and that is a dope shirt. You're trying to make us all look bad with that nice vintage
old school
Mario.
Old school, the original
that he bought at Hot Topic.
Actually, I think it was a present. I don't remember.
I'm sorry. I just needed
his daughter bought it for him at Hot Topic. Why are you such a jerk, Doc?
I just needed to make a Hot Topic pun.
He's picking on my kids. What's up with that, Doc?
Yeah, why are you talking crap
Fuck
about
them kids?
Oh, yeah. I'm out.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I love you.
All three of my children and my wife and myself, to a lesser degree, we're all sick right now. It's been a hell of a week. Obviously, I did the Mark Millar interview. My kid was up at 4:30, ended up slinging his tablet to the television and stuff.
Yeah.
So if I have to run away, which might happen, it might be because the kids are crying and they need my attention. So if that happens, be warned. Gabe, do you guys have anything coming out with Weird Science or Comical Opinions that people should know about that you're working on?
Reviews, and more reviews. What Jim is working on for Weird Science is we're getting a little bit more focused on having reading clubs, specifically focused on manga titles. So everything from One Piece to Chainsaw Man to My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, all that stuff in between. So if you want to maybe catch up on a specific title, but not all of manga, that's a great place to start. And Jim's really doing a lot of stuff to kind of spruce up those reading clubs and give you something regular to chew on. Yep. So that's just for you, Doc. That's just for you.
No, thank you. I will pass.
Who else we've got? We've got MVP Maxfield Von Priestly. Got his own YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed, there's a link in the video description below. He's got a villain name, but the heart of gold. He's not a former Marine, because once a Marine, always a Marine. How you doing, Max?
There you go, dude. Thank you so much for having me on again with such a fantastic panel. I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much. The channel's doing great. Just got a brand new apartment with a new setup and everything. So yeah, it's been good to kind of get back into the swing of things, making videos and being on live streams again. So thanks for having me.
So you've got a new setup there, and you're trying to make me look bad. I appreciate it.
Well, Gabe came in with the great shirt, so I had to come in with the background. So we all kind of gotta
trying to make
have
you
our
look bad on
things.
multiple levels.
We're a little jealous that you got to talk with Mark for about an hour or so. So we gotta, Mark
that was
Millar,
really cool. That was unexpected.
Millar, yeah.
It was even better because I hit 20,000 while we were doing the interview. I was like, I bet this happens while we're doing this. So it ended up being a really big day. Super nice guy, really easy to talk to, which was, you never know when you talk to some of these creators, but he was a really nice guy. If you ever get a chance to have him on your channel, definitely recommend it. Do you have anything special going on in the channel right now, MVP, that everyone should be looking out for?
Right now, I've just got my live streams every Sunday night, Max's Man Cave. And then I just released a video this morning talking about some She-Hulk news with a lot of deflection towards the CGI, unfortunately, again. But yeah, so I'm just publishing videos as quickly and as often as I can. But yeah, man, no, once again, congrats on 20K, and everyone who's watching, go ahead and hit that like button, because our man is just growing every single day. So it's awesome to see.
We're all growing together. That's the key part, that we all support each other.
Yeah.
We try to do good stuff. So that was awesome. We've also got the Sultan of Soup, Eric O'Sullivan. He's not only got a comic book YouTube channel, but you can get shorts on how to make foods and stuff like that. Specifically, his soup is numero uno. How you doing, Eric?
I am awesome, Wes. Thank you, and thank you for having me on. And so blessed to see everyone in the live chat and everyone on the panel. This is awesome. I love talking comic books, and I love talking comic books with you guys.
But you got anything special coming up on your channel you've been working on? Something?
Me? Well, I think I've never done a live stream, and I think I'm going to do a few next weekend when I'm at Fan Expo Boston with a gang of other YouTubers and people that we know in the chats. Literally, there's 7 of us that have 3-day passes, and there's on Saturday we're going to mob a restaurant with maybe hopefully 20 of us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so as we have a mini meetup in Boston this weekend, Saturday, the 13th, in the evening. So yeah, if you're local, hit me up. You can find me on Twitter.
Well, congratulations! I hope you enjoy your first live stream.
A little
bit different, but
a little different to juggle like the live chat and to
a little chaos involved in it.
Yeah,
it makes it more fun.
But I'm not LARPing. I do have a cosplay. It's not LARPing, Les.
It's LARPing if you have beanbags for your magic spells.
Oh no, okay. Well, I have a Mjolnir.
Exactly. You are going to have beanbags so you can do magic spells.
So I'm totally going as Endgame Captain America. I have a Mjolnir and that shield.
Very nice. I talked to Mark about that during the video about the Brian Hitch Captain America design. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
We've also got Carrie from Nerdy Girl Creates. How you doing, Carrie? I know we're not getting as much output on your channel lately, but you have bigger matters to take care of.
Yes. It's going to get back into a regular schedule this week. I do have some videos coming up, including Sony looks like they might be starting a monopoly with manga and anime. So stay tuned for that one.
Okay. Can they do a monopoly? Isn't that all Shueisha and...
They already own Crunchyroll, which now owns Funimation, and they just bought a major manga distributor.
Oh, yeah, I got you. They're talking about the U.S. distribution and stuff like that. That could be very exciting. So that's nice to see. Normally we would have Josh here on the channel as well, but he's sick. He actually has the COVID right now.
Or
So
Josh.
he got the
prayers out to the Josh.
He's got the virus and the
R.I.P. Josh.
unspecified origins.
And Doc and I are going to be talking about this Chris Claremont panel from C2E2 later on today, and I'm also going to be talking a little bit about what Max was getting into about the whole She-Hulk stuff tomorrow as well. So that should be good. How you doing, Doc? We've already had a little discussion.
I am well. Yeah, I got nothing else so far. Trust me. Give it a fucking minute. I'll come up with something that's gonna take you back down to 15,000 viewers and
Give me banned
and get you demonetized or something.
Man, we've got Skip in the chats already. I want to have Skip back on the Comics Aficionados, but I thought he wasn't available on Saturdays. Maybe we can get him on here next week if he's around. That would be awesome. I haven't talked to Skip in a while.
We've seen, Skip's in the chat. I think Breen's in there.
We've got the Breen, and I missed it. Man, I love the Breen.
We got some Breen in there. That's who
Breen
we also
says
need
every
back.
time I get 1,000 new subscribers, I become more bougie. He started calling me 18K West and then 19K West. Now he's going to call me 20K West.
What's he going to do when you get to 24K West?
This is like I'm solid gold. I guess it's
Perfect.
I'm
Nice.
too big for him.
Nice. I set it up and you knocked it down. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for it, hoping somebody was going to hit it.
Nice.
So we do have a couple of super chats. Let's hit these real quick before we get into the first topic. Cal Weil says, Nerdy Girl, thanks for liking, retweeting that Primal clip. I hope you all watch it. And Gabe, thanks for looking at that Angela thing I did.
Yep. Callum's got
really
a promising
awesome.
career. Callum's got a promising career as a colorist. His coloring work was surprising.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, Skip
Well,
says next
thanks.
weekend works.
I'm sorry, Carrie. I talked over you. You were saying something?
No, that's okay. I said I saw the clip and it was really awesome. I liked it a lot.
All right, I'm putting Skip
Primal
on the list.
Primal is one of the great shows out right now for sure.
Oh, man. All right. Callum also says, and I like what you said. I'm bad at environments. Honestly, I prefer writing out fight scenes. I want to say that's some feedback from Gabe.
I wasn't going to talk about any of the negative points, all the positives. But yeah, I mean, there's some ups and downs. New creator, trying some new stuff. I always want to encourage new creators to keep going. Even if my critiques are not glowing, keep going. That's the only way you get better. That's the only way you do more stuff. And at this point, looking at the number of super chats coming in from Callum, I think at this point he's just direct deposit most of his money into Wes's account. Because at this point he's going to go bankrupt with super chats.
We certainly do appreciate him support the channel, and I'm glad that he's getting out there and starting to create and getting some feedback. Because not all negative feedback is negative. That's an opportunity to readjust what you're doing and make it better the next time.
I always try to be constructive, unless it's Stephanie Phillips, then forget it.
There's a couple other times
that's irredeemable.
Constructive, or constructive. You're just kind of mean to him. My goodness.
Leo Williams.
Friendly Neighborhood Banker says, Wes, good chat with Mark. He may be the next Stan Lee. Thank you so much. I'm glad a lot of people enjoyed that for an hour-long video, which is kind of I know it's one of those things that keeps people from clicking on a video. It's doing extremely well. And I think we covered a lot of good stuff there. And Mark is the real deal. He loves comic books. He's a great businessman, and he's super duper creative. So I don't know that he'll be the next Stan Lee, but he's gonna be the first Mark Millar. You know what I mean? He's taking comic books in a new direction. I
have a question for the panel. What's your favorite Millarworld title? Mine's MPH that flew under everyone's radar. And I love that. That's a really great story. But what's yours?
Well, there's a lot of good stuff. I really did like Space Bandits a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised I liked the story so much. I do like sci-fi a lot. It was pretty. It had the Mark Millar moments into it, but it was really, really funny. So
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. I liked that one. That one really surprised me. But King of Spies recently was really good as well.
I would say for me, it is likely Chosen, or the American Jesus trilogy, rather.
Okay.
I'm an atheist. However, I am fascinated by religion.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up religious and in religious environment, had a lot of clergy that was in my family and shit like that. And basically, I'm an atheist because I got educated enough in religion to stop believing in organized religion.
Mm-hmm.
But the everything about it fascinates me. And I really enjoy kind of the way that Mark, the first twist in the first series, and then so far the second series, I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. What do you think, Gabe? What's your favorite Millarworld series?
Not necessarily. I mean, I like most of his stuff just in general, on general principle. But for me, the one that always stuck out as one that sort of resonated with me was not a Millarworld creation, but when he was with DC, where he did Superman Red Sun. Just for an Elseworlds or what if type story, I think that one really hit the nail on the head of presenting a character that you knew, putting them in a different context, and creating a really solid story out of that. And that was the one that stuck with me for a very long time. So if I was going to pick, what's your favorite Millar work, not necessarily Millarworld, I would go with Superman Red Sun.
Oh, well, if we're just going with Millarworld,
nope, we're doing Millarworld. He went off topic. You already answered that.
Sorry,
because I was gonna go off Millarworld as well and go Ultimates and Ultimate X-Men and stuff. So sorry,
Absolutely.
but that's definitely great.
I saw Ultimate.
Scary.
I have to say I am enjoying Magic Order.
Ooh, everybody likes Magic Order. That's going to be a
great
show
art,
on
too.
Netflix pretty soon too. So you'll
Is
be
it?
able to see,
Cool.
I think, the live action version.
That's Copiel's art on Magic Order.
It was originally him, but I think it's Scalera after that, right?
Okay. Oh, okay.
They changed the artist.
Yeah.
Cal Miles says, my Vita impression, Vita do type, make kids trans gay. Cal, he's so, he always trying to get
Callum. We got our eye on you.
Larry Craver. So people are apparently attacking Claremont. He made some cringy jokes, but made some valuable points as well. Mentioned he doesn't like the current X-Men. What are people's thoughts? Minus Wes and Doc. Obviously, we're going to be talking about it. What do you think, Gabe? You got any thoughts?
I think Claremont doesn't care because he can afford not to care. B, his legacy speaks for itself. C, there's too much of a history of people getting upset about Claremont's writing from decades past, where in context it makes sense and people just looking to be mad just for the sake of being mad.
Yes.
And D, if the man wants to make a joke, then just don't listen to it. I think people just hypersensitivity has just gone off the rails, especially in the last year or two. And honestly, if somebody said Claremont said XYZ, I just tune it out. I don't even care anymore. It's not worth the oxygen or the time to give it any energy or outrage or defense. He doesn't need me to fight his battles. He's set. So whatever. I just sort of shrug and let it go.
No, you're so right, brother. It's
Yeah.
just the hypersensitivity. I think when he's given us so many fantastic stories that people are overlooking just because of one joke or a few panels that are don't match with today's culture. It's like, come on, this man has given us so many. What was it? God loves, man kills. Like he was doing that stuff way before people were ever talking about that type of cultural sensitivity to that kind of stuff, and he was right in that. So I think it's ridiculous, but
By the
I
way,
think
go ahead, Carrie.
Oh, sorry. I think it's just a lot of jealousy too. Like, and I find it funny that they keep calling him all these things, and then when you look at the stories he wrote, that contradicts everything. Like calling him a racist, and then you go back to the 90s X-Men, and it was just like, did you read the comics?
No, I read the headlines and I clicked on it, and outrage.
Exactly.
So does the Sultan of Soup have any extras to provide for there? I think we kind of covered it.
Gabe just totally took all my words away with that eloquence.
He owned
his. I mean, just nailed it. I mean, yeah, there's no taking away any of that. I mean, because Claremont basically invented all of this, what we have today, especially when Max said, man kills, God loves. That stuff was too on the nose, even for its day. I mean, and that is what we get today. And with those comics, so it's like, I don't know, it's like yelling at your grandpa for like farting at the dinner table again, like, Daddy, like, just.
I'll add one more to that. When God Loves, Man Kills came out, that graphic novel, I bought it when it first. That's how old I am. I bought it when it first came out. I still have it in the next room over there. And to me, when you say, tell me, give me a quintessential sort of just a one shot that would encapsulate what the X-Men really are, that's the one I point to.
Yeah,
because it's mature writing. It's got lots of subtext. And it's got all the things that you want to encapsulate in the kind of the struggle the mutants were going with. So, and that's Claremont. That is 100% Claremont. So even though everybody talks about Dark Phoenix and all these other things, I point to that one as, if you want to tell me what is the quintessential X-Men, it's that book right there.
I agree. Claremont. I mean, because that OGN was completely different, ahead of its time, and new thing. Love that, because I grew up with that on the shelves. I was fascinated by that. It was bigger. There were no ads. The paper was better. Man, that was an experience.
And it is the only, and that's the exact reason why it must stay out of continuity in perpetuity, because it is just it is a one shot that encapsulates the X-Men, but it
really, I thought it was
okay, guys,
because of Extreme X-Men.
We got to get into the conversation. I do want to say thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. Doc and I are going to have a big 20-minute take on this, in depth talking about it. I do want to point out that Aaron Sparrow is in the chat. Some of you might have thought he was at C2E2. He's supposed to be there with Joe Corral and the other guys from Comics Elite, Merc Publishing and all that stuff, but apparently something happened with his flight. He didn't make it. But if you are at C2E2, the other good friends are out there, definitely having a fun time there. We've also got some friends down at Bell County Comic Con, I believe. Tim Lim, Doug Ernst, I think Perch is down there. Certainly Mark Pellegrini and others are going to be there as well. So if you're going to be in those areas, definitely have a good time. Go out and support some of our friends there as well. Now let's get into the first topic. We had a very interesting set of tweets from Tim Sheridan where he first came out and said, basically it's the fans' fault because they don't like my original LGBTQ kind of queer characters that I created. And because of that, that's why I need to go and change existing characters and adjust them. It's kind of laid it all the fans. Then he kind of went on a blocking spree. I know, Carrie, you were involved in this. What did you say to this man that was so upsetting?
his post was about complaining that fans always say make new characters, and when they makes new characters, nobody likes them. So I responded to him going, it's not that people don't like new characters, it's that they want characters that are well developed and have interesting motivations and are not one-dimensional. And that's all I did.
Mhm.
Truthfully, he put that out there just to see who would have different opinions so he could block them and keep his echo chamber free of what he didn't like.
So you got the old banhammer for that one. Gabe, it's a good thing you didn't reply to this thing. You would have gotten nuked from Twitter altogether.
Possibly. And I'm checking right now to see if I'm blocked by Tim Sheridan. No, I am not.
See,
Therefore, my brand
I
has
just
universal
did too.
appeal. So I'm beloved by everyone, and that's the way it goes. The lack of self-awareness in that tweet was sort of stunning. The lack of because Tim Sheridan, I apologize. I don't know him personally, so I'm not going to speak on his personality and who he is. What his belief systems are and what his ideology. I don't know him personally, so I can't speak on that. What I can speak on is I've seen his writing multiple times. He is not a very good comic writer. He's just not. If you look at Teen Titans Academy, that thing was a mess. And now you can claim editor interference, and that seems to be the recipe of the day for every writer that tries to defend or justify their writing. Oh, well, the editors made me do this, and the editors made me do that. Honestly, I'm kind of tired of that excuse. I'm over it. His name is on that book. He wrote those words. Those books that Tim Sheridan writes are not good. They are just not good. So the lack of self-awareness comes in where he's saying, well, I created these great new characters, but I know nobody likes them. Nobody likes them because you wrote them poorly.
Well, not only that, but there's a claim in there that is entirely unfounded, which is the word "great."
Yeah. Yeah, he does not write great characters. He does not write great stories. He's not a great writer. So for him to come back and say, "You told me not to change an existing character to create a new one, but you don't like the new one. Don't like the new one because you wrote it poorly." Well, see, it's that one little switch from A to B that somehow he's missing that little concept that we don't like them because you wrote them poorly.
He's not missing it because it's the same blind spot every single Hollywood, every single creator has, which is it came out of my mouth, therefore it's good.
Now I'll give him the one possibility there, which is sometimes I'm seeing this increasingly where creators will put out tweets like that or Instagram posts like that or Facebook posts or whatever they are, knowing that they're saying something inflammatory because they're trying to bring attention to whatever it is they're working on or whatever is going on with their career. So there's a very possibility that he knew it was tone deaf and he knew it was lacking self-awareness, but he did it anyway because he's not getting attention for his writing. So maybe this is the only way he feels he can get attention. I'll concede that may be a possibility, so it's intentional. But if that's the case, that's almost worse.
That's the more likely scenario. It's always kind of a toss-up between. I'm reluctant to think that people that are that bad at writing are also that Machiavellian, because that would require a level of intelligence that I don't believe they carry.
No.
Well, look at. So I was just going to say, look at Simu Liu, who just posted something, really bad take, and you,
it was stupid.
But you know that the only reason why he said that is because he wasn't getting enough attention from the public media. His movie is like the third lowest film in the MCU. Like
there is no sequel currently scheduled.
Exactly. And he was feeling left out. So he had to go out and say something to promote his thing. So I definitely, if that is the case with this as well. But
when it comes to, I always look at it this way. I believe that most of these creators have some degree of self-awareness. And what they want to do is they want to change existing characters. That's what they want to do.
Yes.
But because there's some degree of they basically need to prove to the editors, well, I don't have a choice. We need this representation, and I don't have a choice but to change these old characters, these existing characters, because look, I've put in XYZ 1, 2, 3, 43 new diverse or diversity bingo checkbox characters, and none of them have taken off. So you have to let me make Dick Grayson gay. You have to make me let me make whatever other character, whatever other gender or sexuality, or we're gonna make them trans. I don't really care. He wants to they want to change them, but there is still some reluctance on the editorial to allow them to do it. So what they do is they fail intentionally on the new characters.
Wow.
They fail intentionally because they know that the only reason that fucking quilt person character was never intended to actually succeed, because a fourth grader could have written. I mean, I'm talking about your average fourth grader, not like a really, really smart fourth grader that wins like spelling bees and writing competitions. I'm talking about the kid that sits in the back of the classroom that popped this thing out like 45 minutes before it was fucking due. Even that character, even that kid would have written that character in the amount of time that Tim Sheridan was given more interesting than just quilty non-binary thing.
Well, I think Aaron brings up a great point in the chat where he talks about how a lot of these characters that are made for the sake of diversity and inclusion or whatnot, are just that. They're just stereotypes. They have no depth to them. They have nothing that makes them an individual. They have nothing that allows them to stand out. And I think that's really unfortunate to the character's detriment, because there's so much more to the character than just their sexuality or their race or whatnot. And so when people ask, it's a classic gaslight or straw man argument of like, oh, well, we don't know who the character is, so we don't want it. No, it's not that simple. It's actually the fact that we don't know them and we want them to be more fleshed out. We want characterization. We want more depth to the character. We don't want a stereotype of what is being portrayed in the panels. So I also bring up Wolverine. Like, Wolverine was a side character in the X-Men, or just a group character in the X-Men for years before he even got his solo series, and then his first ongoing series, which wasn't until like the late 80s. You know what I mean? So it took a while for him to really be fleshed out and people to understand his character, and then he got his own series. And people, especially these writers, they think that their character is going to catch on in a few issues, and that's just not the case.
That's not how it works.
No, there's not. They believe that if there isn't instant success, it's a failure.
Yep.
They don't believe that they actually have to put work in to make the characters like, oh no, it came out of my mouth. It is brilliant. You must recognize my brilliance. I mean, we're in the fucking participation trophy generation, writing comics that don't think they actually have to do any fucking work in order to make their characters or their comics successful, and that just because of the sheer brilliance of their wondrous writing pen, or in that case, fucking Chromebook that they can afford, then that's enough to make it successful. What do you mean I actually have to develop a character?
What?
Yeah,
it's kind of one of the things, Gabe. I know you were reading Teen Titans Academy a little bit as well, and I think the first issue, one of the main characters that he tries to introduce is this character called Stitch, who's essentially a walking, talking quilt. And I think one of the other characters says, "What are you, an androgynous quilt?" And the character, I think, yells at him, is like, "I'm non-binary." Like,
learning moment.
That's not a good introduction to the character. It's just strange how it comes out like so inorganically, because that's all the character was to it.
You
I
never
am-
you never want to introduce in comics. I mean, there are different ways to do it in different medium, prose and whatnot. But in comics, you never want to introduce a character by having them tell you about their preferences.
I
Right?
this,
That has nothing to do with who they are as a person.
this
That's
is the
how they write. Yeah,
this is
that's what that's what they've been told will be a successful thing. You'll be a successful writer if you lead with your identities.
And notice I didn't say sexual preferences. I said preferences. So that can apply to any aspect of what they like or don't like. That doesn't tell me anything about you.
that
You got to tell me who
introduction.
you are as a person. What's your moral compass? What's your center? What's your personality? How you behave? What are the things that you're willing to fight for? That's what I want to know about. I don't care about your preferences, whether they're sexual or otherwise. That makes no difference.
That whole introduction was the comic book of equivalent of, my name is Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a woman in a blue suit sitting at a table. Jesus fucking Christ! I thought it was a meme. These people write. They think that writing is basically a meme. It's fucking goofy.
They introduce their characters like they're writing out their Twitter profile.
Yes,
Exactly.
That's not how you introduce anyone. That in a narrative, in a story, that's
Right.
that's pointless. It's useless.
It's like remember was this in Teen Titans Go in the animated? We find out that Gar's a vegan because obviously he is, because he can be every animal, but we find out like when they're all eating pizza, like, nah, I don't eat cheese. And it's like, that's how we find out about our characters is
by what they do, not what they tell us.
Exactly.
It just ended up being a big cluster. You had the Red X mystery that was paid off terribly. He says he wanted it to be shorter, but they made it last like 12 issues. And it's like, by the time you get to the end of it, it's like, what was this all about? It turns out there isn't a Red X. There's 3 Red X's.
We talked a lot about that in Weird Science, in the Slack, and just the group chats and everything else. Is they try to build it up that this big thing was the mystery of Red X's identity, and almost from the first issue, our collective reaction was, "Who cares?" I don't know anything about Red X other than he appeared in. I think he was in one of the Teen Titans cartoons.
It was Dick Grayson's alternate persona. For a while,
this was supposed to be a different Red X, and they try to hype it up as this big. And Tim Sheridan was going on and on and on about, like, you're not going to believe who it is. Nobody cared. Just get to it already. It's not additive to the story. You're not building up curiosity. All you're doing is building up frustration, which is a very solid line you have to pay attention to. And it was just and nobody cared. And then when you finally revealed it, it's like, what is this nonsense? There are 3 Red X. Tim Sheridan, he's either being intentionally unself-aware just to kind of get some hype from his tweet, or he's a chucklehead and you just ignore it. Either way, I just go mute, and that's the end of it.
And you're also $48 out because that was 12 issues at $3.99, right?
And there was an annual yearbook. I think that was $6.
Oh man, that's space in your long box too, man.
Oh, man.
It was a big waste of Rafa Sandoval's art, who's a damn good artist.
He's great.
Criminal.
Some of these great artists, though, they can only do 1 issue a month, with the amount of detail they put in there, and you just waste all of it. We do have some people chiming in as far as the super chats. Let's hear from Neil. New Mutants were new characters, and folks came to love them because they were well written. Tim's making excuses for bad writing of characters. It's copium of the highest degree. Do better.
Yeah. New Mutants are ruled.
I hear that excuse all the time. They say, "Oh, new characters are not going to as well receive because they don't have a history of the established characters." But I always say, Mom does it all the time. They're always introducing new characters, and they take off because they're written well. These characters,
but you have to do a little bit of work. You have to flesh the character out. And you have to, point out what their motivations are, what makes them tick, and all that stuff. And it's always better to do that by showing and not telling. And a lot of the current writers, they just don't understand that. And it does take a little bit of a while for a new character to take off. Not everybody gets to be Cable. When he shows up, his design is so cool, and the concept behind the character is so outrageous that you instantly fall in love with the character, and he kind of just blows up immediately. Most characters take a little while to kind of gestate, become their own living entity within the comic book universe, and really make it, but you don't have enough time.
How long did it take Deadpool to become Deadpool? Years.
It was a couple of writers really before he
Yeah.
really caught on.
Then he found that Deadpool
And there-
character and that Deadpool voice and his antics, and that drove. Oh, that's huge.
But also notice the difference is like characters like Deadpool, Cable, Wolverine. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Is they didn't just say, "Here's a number one with this character right on the front that you've never heard of, and now we're going to give you a 12-issue maxi series." They worked him in as part of a team, either as a side character or a supporting character, or maybe in a backup in an existing title. They built up interest. They tried to develop the character in association with somebody who was already established. And then when it looked like fan interest started to pick up, then they said, okay, now in his or her own new dedicated series, just because you demanded it, kind of a thing. But in that case, it was actually because there was some demand for it. They didn't just say, here's Naomi, season 1. It's like,
You're gonna love her.
oh, she's the bestest ever. And
Hey, Naomi #1 is actually worth some money because it was so lowly printed for a #1 DC comic hero.
Oh,
I think it was only 18,000 of the first issue.
I think
Oh, wow.
DC has more of a habit of doing that than Marvel, I think. But in the olden days, they were much better at it. So Firestorm #1, Blue Devil #1, those kinds of Damage #1, those kinds of things where you just take a character out of the blue and just say, here you go. But they were skilled and had enough high craft capability that they could do that, and it turned out pretty decently. You just don't have anybody around writing that has that level of talent and skill that can do that today. You just don't.
Yeah, Blue Devil.
you know what
I love Blue Devil.
You know what I love is the Marvel Presents comics back from the 80s and 90s when you had like Barry Windsor Smith on, doing Weapon X, and they only have 8 pages of part of that comic because it was a comic that would include like 3 different characters. So a lot of these writers only had 8 pages to develop their character, engage the reader, and keep them wanting to buy the next issue. And that stuff, I mean, it takes writers now, it takes them 8 issues instead of 8 pages to flesh out a character. So I love those books just for that reason, because it really shows off the writing chops of some of these guys.
Yep.
Well, in that example, you had to write in a way that was both compelling, would grasp the reader, gave them something to hang on to, plus establish a little bit of a cliffhanger in order to get them back for the next issue in the series, and get your timing down to 8 pages.
Yep.
That is difficult.
Yeah.
We've also got Cal Mile. He says Tim Sheridan blocked me for pointing out his lecturing and his work on the Tila show, but also telling him to go F himself after he tried to get to people to buy it. Well, I mean, did he tell the guy to F himself?
Yeah. Hey, I mean, like, look, I readily admit that I earned the fucking block with Tim Sheridan, and I absolutely earned it. I mean, that's fine. I decided to jump in the ring, and whenever he's a giant pussy and blocks me because he's a bitch, then hey, whatever. Look, when he's done failing with his intentionally bad original characters so that he can use it as an excuse to change existing characters and then write them out of character and say, well, now they're out of the closet, so this is the way they really are. You know what? Fuck you, dude. But, go back to whatever fucking dollar store job you had before comics and get out of here. But whatever.
Go back to the CW, you.
Well, I think he's doing DC animation. I think he did the Long Halloween. At least he did the adaptation. Lade Kramer says, can I get more Superman who goes, Connor, John, Carol, Lois, we try to save everyone from Earth to across the stars. It's the duty of the House of L. All of their family needs to be aspirational, however they can be.
That's fine. We'll get Mark Russell to write it.
No, please, God. That almost had me in tears, where Superman is just walking through destruction as the world crumbles around him, and he just goes, "This is fine." It's the meme of that dog where everything is on fire. Yeah, and the dog just goes, "This is fine," and I'm like, "This is the most unheroic, uncourageous, thing I've ever seen him do. It was horrible to watch as he grasps his family, spoilers, and just says, "This is our fate."
Yeah, his son's like,
couldn't
I'm
believe it.
scared. It feels like things are going bad. He's like, they are going bad, and that's okay.
And I'm like,
For anybody in the chat who doesn't know what we're talking about Superman Space Age. It's that $10 triple size book that just came out, written by Mark Russell.
Oh, okay.
Wes, when you
Anybody-
came out,
Look, I'm going to just tell you, anybody that spends $10 on anything that has Mark Russell's name on it is an idiot who deserves to be parted with their money.
And it's a 3-parter. That's the first of 3 issues.
Oh,
Okay, well then you're a
no.
triple idiot that deserves to be parted with your money 3 times.
I get them free, so it doesn't matter.
yeah, Wes,
Yeah,
when you came out with that video, I was just yelling at my screen, just being like, "No, please, no."
Yeah, the opener really, it's a tone setter. Let's put it that way. That's like the opening pages.
Look,
And
Well,
we
it
know
has
that
been-
Superman can save the day because they do. At least on the earth that makes it.
Well, it has been a long-standing point of debate to try and figure out how many children Jonathan Kent murdered during World War II. I mean, that wasn't a very serious question that needed to be answered. So I'm glad we finally got that answered.
46,
Thank God.
by the way. 46. I think we just all need to start accepting to just look at the names of the creators on the covers.
Yes.
Look, create your own. I've enjoyed comics more in the past few years by refusing. There's just certain characters or certain creators whose names on a cover imply I'm fucking retarded if I put money down for this. Like I literally need like electroshock therapy, or somebody needs to punch me really hard in the face because I am only going to be disappointed. And you're just asking for disappointment. Tim Sheridan is one of those people. Mark Russell is one of those people. Tinny Howard is one of those people. Tom King is one of those people. Vita Ayala is one of those people.
Okay, Doc, we get it.
I was gonna pick up the Dark Crisis Superman tie-in that was out yesterday because I picked
Tom
I wanted
King.
this. Yeah, that's not. I touched it, and my hand burned. I'm like,
Yeah, that was a
and
smart move.
he's like, no, that's a Tom King book. That's gonna leave a stain on your soul.
We've also got Happy Steve. He says the sad part of current state of things is any criticism is bad. When it may be constructive, it's hard to filter that out the hate, but still.
Yes.
And that's the worst part, Gabe. Is like you try to be honest with things, and everybody wants to kind of twist your words. And it can't just be honest criticism. You have to be trying to have agendas coming into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as everyone who's watched me knows, sometimes my constructive criticism is a little bit pointed, and I'll own that. That's fine. But at the same time, there's only so many ways you can dance around the phrase "this is awful." There's only so many nice ways you can be constructive about that.
Well, look,
I mean, I hate to borrow on this. Sometimes a comic is just irredeemable. It just is.
Gabe,
It's
you can see. I think people make the mistake of misunderstanding the creative criticism, or creative criticism, positive criticism, constructive criticism. All of those things. When somebody is absolutely atrocious, simply, hey, pick up a book on writing, buy a thesaurus. That is actually still constructive. I'm sorry, when you're starting below the bottom of the barrel, you have to give instruction that is not above their remedial level.
We've also got Wolfstein 3D. He says, framing the audience as the antagonist and the reason why the product fails, has that argument ever worked out? There are ways that you can frame the audience as the bad guy. Like if you're a boxer named Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you can get people to send you money just on the idea that you might get beat up in the ring. People bought pay-per-views because they wanted to see him get the crap beat out of him because he came off as such a jerk. But when you're making a consumer product and you're trying to sell it to people, I don't think antagonizing people is ever the way to go, Carrie. It seems like backwards thinking.
It is. Like, I still laugh over the fact that I got blocked just because I said, no, you're wrong. It wasn't like I was being like, mean or cruel or telling him to F off like some people, but it's kind of like nobody wants to hear criticism. They just want to hear you say, yes, you're great. And it's stupid.
Well, there's a lot of people on Twitter that are there for validation, the same way that a lot of
Yes.
girls are on Instagram for validation.
Uh-huh.
That's why
You
I'm
are
on
such a
Twitter.
misogynist. God.
And I think there's a point of introspection that tends to be missing a lot. And when I say that, I mean, if you ever an artist or more specifically a writer, and you say to them, how many people do you want to buy your comic book? Do you just friends and family, or do you want the whole world, or as many people as in it that are be interested in comics? If their answer comes anywhere close to being, I want as many people to buy this comic as possible, stop. You are no longer an artist. You are now a commercial artist.
Correct.
There's a difference. Commercial artist means they're creating art that is meant to be mass purchased and consumed. The instant you do that, what you create is subject to the whims and whimsies of the buying audience. You are no longer the artiste with the pinky up that, well, I'm just creating art and it's subjective and whatever I feel putting on the page matters the most is what counts. No. As soon as you say, I want as many people to buy this as possible and I want all the monies, you are now a commercial artist, and what the audience wants is what the audience should get. If you have a different opinion about that, you are automatically wrong because now you have two ideas that are diametrically opposed to each other and it doesn't work.
Yes, artistic vision in commercial art must be sacrificed for mass consumption.
Yep.
That's
how that works.
basics 101. You can't be commercially viable and only do things that are going to appeal to a niche. Sorry, it just doesn't work.
Well,
The niche is by definition not the mass.
All I have is a professional metaphor. I'm a chef. So we have to look at our niche, as like the seating capacity of our restaurant, and what we always want hungry diners. We always want tables turning. We want people to be plying our trade and giving the best that we have. Now we have artistic license and that we make beautiful, delicious, nutritious food, but also like our chefs are like our editors. They give us a menu. They give us a recipe that we have to, stick by. So, there is like, I know fully well, like I'm a cook for a big retail place that's very busy. I'm not an artist, but I am artistic. So it's like I can look at the DC or Marvel writer in the same light because they, it's not 100% true art. They're making superhero funny books, and so there's only they can do it the best that they can, but in the end it's still superhero funny books, and in the end for me it's still a day at work feeding people, making people soup. Doc,
Fuck you.
Aaron Sparrow is trying to be on my bad side. Doc is right. Instagram should be renamed Daddy Issues.
It should be.
The doc
Hey,
is
look!
right
There's
there.
That's not a criticism.
We don't need to get into a big debate about it.
the same way that bodybuilders are at Muscle Beach for validation. It's all look. There's certain people
We got it,
that
Doc. We
need
got it.
external validation. That's my point.
Grateful Dog says, live, laugh, like this video. And I would appreciate that. I think we've got about 88, 90 likes right now. We're doing
90
okay, but we've almost got 300 people live. So if you want to like the video and let everyone else know that we're having a good time talking about comic books, definitely appreciate that. Thank you very much, Grateful Dog. Mr. J. Howe, representation is king to them, but then they get shocked that the new one-dimensional LGBTQ characters don't sell with people they don't represent.
yeah, I mean, gee. Poor Stitch.
I also think
He didn't ask for this. They
Don't
didn't ask for this.
misgender Stitch.
I guess sorry.
Them.
No, is
Them
Stitch,
didn't ask for this.
is Stitch a
Zero.
legacy character? Is he like Ragman's sidekick? Is that the same like power set or something? No.
Nope, it's just a fucking quilt.
I think so.
An LGBT character is not a character. It's just not a
Ragman's-
character.
Ragman's grandmother knitted it for, and just then it came to life, and it was fucking weird.
And it was a they.
Yeah,
I just don't
That's
think
great.
that there's
Good for
very
them.
many characters that you can just tell people what the sexuality of the character or the identity of the character is, and that is enough to have enough people to go and support the character and buy them. You have to do something more. They have to be something that the readers are looking for on an adventure that's gonna, affect the character and stuff. Just saying, I made 10, new queer characters in Teen Titans Academy, and you didn't support it because you don't like new gay characters. Is like,
Right.
But no one asked for 10 new characters in there that only could be queer characters. And if you were gonna do that, they needed to be 10 good characters that happened to be queer. And he forgot the part that they need to be good characters first.
The whole comic industry suffers from this exact same thing, which is not understanding that just because they created it does not make it good.
Mm-hmm. Wolfstein 3D says,
I work for Marvel.
imagine paying over $50 for the Red X story, and as a reward, you get lectured by Sheridan on how you are at fault for his comic not selling better.
$60.
Mute. Goodbye, Tim Sheridan.
Goodbye, Tim Sheridan. Adios.
See, here's exactly the point of that is right, wrong, or indifferent, regardless of how you ascribe to it. When you say a character is LGBTQ, the whole point of that developing that relationship status, or not relationship, but that representation status within culture is to normalize it, to say this is okay, this is normal, and this is natural, and that's fine. I'm 100% on board with that. But we're past that point. I think society kind of progressed past that point. Just because you don't see that prevalence within media doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just what you're saying is you're taking an innate quality of a character that is innate. It's no different than saying that character's eyes are blue or the earlobes are detached versus attached or something like that. You're talking about an innate value of the character. So when you lead with that, you're leading with something that is innate to the character that really has no relevance on who they are as a person. It's just a part of who they are. So when you lead with that, you're leading with almost effectively nothing because society has progressed past that point, but you keep trying to pull them back to the past when it was not treated as innate or natural or actually something that it is.
Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, you know what they've successfully done? They've successfully created an extra. Like literally like the extras that you cast in movies to stand in the background and then wonder why people treat them like extras. The extras don't have a role. Even if they talk for like a couple of seconds, nobody cares. They are there to serve a plot purpose, not a character purpose. And people wonder why they don't get accepted as characters. Well, you created a plot contrivance, not a character.
Yeah, if you decided that you're going to create a character and he was going to be a cowboy, and all he was a cowboy, and there was nothing more to the character, that would get
all he did was talk about cowboy stuff.
It's just a stand-in.
I'm gonna go rustle up some
you
cattle.
Guys don't like cowboys. It's like, well, actually, I love westerns. I've watched more westerns than any other type of movie out there. But
this character,
I wanted a better cowboy. I wanted something more to it.
This character is
yellow right now.
Yeah,
I was.
Cal Wild says, but Doc Vita can't read books. I'm certain.
Oh, geez. Callum.
There's no way that's true. It would be hard to write a comic book.
I'm not getting into that conversation.
Chris the Blitz says they use my skin color as a platform shield and a battering ram for people who use Philippine X.
Yeah, is that
they're doing that now?
They did it at
and now they're doing it to Filipinos.
They did it at SDCC where they were like, and our Philippines.
Filipino is gender neutral.
The word is Pinoy.
Pinoy, yeah.
Well,
it doesn't.
Is more like I know it's traditionally Filipinos who have left the Philippines but are still in the culture would be Pinoy.
Oh, okay.
All right,
but it's
they're at SDCC. They would be fucking Pinoy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you were in the Philippines and you're talking about, I'm Philippines, they would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Did you just make up a word?
Like, that's not what we do here. It's weird how it works out. It was I don't know. Chris is a good guy. I think he's a colorist too. He lives here in the Philippines. But I would get pretty annoyed if I was him as well, especially with the Philippines. I didn't even mention that to my wife. I didn't want to annoy her. You know what I mean? She's just gonna give me a look like, God.
White people. I was gonna
like, I know.
Yeah, I know. Fucking white people. Knock it off, white people. Jesus Christ.
I was going to say with Chris, you know, like this, it is sad because it feels like patronizing. You know, it feels like just the industry patronizing these people and trying to say that we know better. We know what you should be called.
Well, they're trying to
and
take someone's culture and change it for them.
exactly.
Yes,
and that's such
No
a
one wants that
white
culture.
savior thing to do. And it's so frustrating that these people think that they are, you know, doing that.
You know what? I got an idea to make it stop. What we do is we say, oh, you know what? Well, I love it. Let's colonize that. You know, refer to it as colonial.
We'll call Eric Irish
colonization.
next.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
No. You be like,
Philippines
look,
used
we
to be a
So I
territory for the United
wouldn't,
States.
I wouldn't do Irish X if I were you. That has a
It's
different-
Irish. If the X goes in the front of it, it's ex-Irish. You know, it's Irish. Ex-Irish.
No, that
No,
has
I
a
wanna
very
be part
different
of
meaning.
it.
convince everybody
Sorry,
that
anyone who's Irish and
convince everybody that it's a great idea because we are successfully colonizing their culture. We're not even appropriating it. We're colonizing it to fix it for them.
Yes.
Just like we did Africa.
cultural
We totally
conquistadors.
fixed that one.
Totally, man.
Fuck,
That's,
man. Like
you
you're
gotta
gonna
look at our fandoms as
No,
as
the
a
point
tribe.
was that was a
I mean,
disaster.
and then there's these invaders, these conquistadors, and they come in and say that it's their way or the highway. And if we don't, if the pre-existing civilization there don't jibe with them, we're othered. We're savages. I mean, the same thing. I love history. This is just every single other colonialism thing.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Latinx and
Yeah.
Filipinx is verbal colonialism.
definitely
Josh
agree with
is in
that.
the,
Zach
chat.
Richmond says, did anyone else actively root for Deathstroke to take out the new students in Dark Crisis versus the other? Yes, of course.
Yes.
I think everybody was.
No more Stitch.
Yeah.
We solved that problem.
Yeah, well, everyone was Deathstroke when we needed Stitch taken care of. But Deathstroke can't kill anybody because there's no stakes yet in Dark Crisis.
What's Dark Crisis?
Dark
Oh,
Crisis.
my bad. Dark
Wonderful
Crisis on
for-
Infinite Earths. Yeah, what I misgender the comic book.
Oh yeah,
My goodness.
I picked it up yesterday. Yeah.
Well, they're going to re-release it as Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths 3, so you can rebuy it with the
No,
with
thank
the
you.
new-
I almost got the alternate cover though, because it was nice, but it wouldn't have fit in with the rest of them, you know.
We also have Logan Tedder. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Obviously, I don't see a question here, but I really appreciate the support. Josh, who is homesick right now, says, "Morning, loving the Doc is right show." Shout out to the
Uh-oh.
crew. Special
Uh-oh.
shout out to my brother from another mother, MVP. Smash that like button.
Hell
Fuck
yeah.
yeah. Right.
Josh, I'm sorry you're feeling sick this morning, man, but glad to see you here. Yeah, and if you guys want, I've actually just put up a video this week of Josh and I. We did a great interview. I always love having Josh on the channel because he says the things that I wish I could say, but he says them in a much more wise and discerning manner. And so I love having him on because he always speaks incredibly well. So great to see you, brother. Hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, feel better, Josh. And I love your crowded house icon on your account. Looks like an album cover from the 1990s. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, I'm with Logan Tedder in the chat. I am 100% in favor of Jonathan Kent getting zapped with pink kryptonite.
Yeah, why not?
100%.
No, we already
great.
decided that that's what
100%.
Jay Nakamura's hair is dyed with.
Oh,
That's the reason why.
So MVP
Really?
in the Air Force, if I wanted to call a guy my brother from another mother, that meant I have to cup the balls. Is that what you guys are doing too?
Well, let me just say, when I saw him at Dallas Fan Expo, we didn't shake hands. I'll just say
Very
that.
nice. Tummy stick. That's how you say hi to a friend.
Did you touch tips to say hello?
That's how you do it in the Marine Corps. I mean, I thought that's.
Well, with Josh, did you have to use one hand or two?
They call it the
Josh
Semper
is a-
Fi, all right?
My
Between them.
goodness, Josh is an honorary Marine now.
There he is. Semper Fi, always faithful.
There you go.
Chris says they bitch and moan, they hate imperialism, yet they are the imperialists.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. I feel that way too, man. Yeah.
It's bad until it's you're the one that doing it. Then it makes sense, right? I'm only coming from a place that's good. I think that's how people justify
We're
their
doing it for your
okay.
best interests, you savages.
So once again, we're back to it's okay when I do it as the logic for, well, pretty much everyone.
Whoa, Josh
All
says
right.
he used both hands, Max.
Nice.
Very nice.
No comment.
It's like you ever
Cal
see it.
Lyle picks up on some of this. He says, also on the note about colonialism, it's the same with SJWs and people that complain about manga and trying to censor and telling people what they should do. There's a lot of problems with censoring in manga right now, Carrie. They're kind of changing the meaning of things and trying to distort the original intensive stories to kind of appropriate them into our culture. Change them.
Localization.
Yeah. I have a whole video about Seven Seas doing that with multiple manga series, and still my favorite is where they take somebody's line that originally said bizarre fashion theory and changed it to I mansplain fashion.
Well, you can once again thank Comics Alliance for that. Fucking David Brothers.
Yeah. It's it's happening all over the place. But we are the front line of defense, I think. Maybe.
Exactly.
We're the ones fighting the good fight, right?
We stand in the breach.
Speaking of fighting the good fight, David Zaslav has come in and he's starting to make his changes. It's being
interesting,
felt.
man,
We've got Batgirl was canceled despite $90 million already being poured into the movie. They said no mas. They're not going to make the Supergirl movie. It looks like the Green Lantern Corps show is no more.
Oof.
The Wonder Twins movie was already
wow.
scrapped. It sounds like they're making Ta-Nehisi Coates revamp his Superman script and all that stuff. And there was a lot of backlash on this MVP. Were you surprised that people just decided to jump to the worst possible explanations for these cancellations?
Well, I think the sad thing is that most people are going to say, "Oh, well, this is just DC like destroying their brand or whatever, and they're just trying to get rid of everything." But in all actuality, I think Zaslav is. I think this is a good thing for DC because he's actually trying to protect the brand by shutting some of these shows down or these movies down and trying to raise up some of these other movies. Like if we got a Henry Cavill Superman film right now, which is what we need, which I think we should have, it would exponentially make the brand so much better. And if they did it right, if they had a good writer, and I think I think what they're doing right now is actually going to help the DC universe. I think they need to take their time, be patient, and allow these characters to be fleshed out. And if that means canceling some shows and movies, I think that's fine because ultimately, at the end of the day, these characters have been around for much longer than a lot of these new fans have been. So we really need to pay respect and take care of these characters when they are in these shows and movies so that when they are portrayed on the big screen, they are done well and they're done respectfully.
It's weird that it feels like David Zaslav is the only one that cares about the characters in the universe there, Gabe. You would think this would be Jim Lee's job. Why is he doing it for?
Well, David Zaslav is a numbers guy. He's all about the bottom line and the spreadsheet. That's not necessarily wrong because, in my opinion, DC WB Discovery has been missing that for a number of years. And this is.
But he also said DC can be done better on film. We're not doing the characters justice.
Yeah,
100%.
That's a point.
And so what that means is you have to be smart about what you put out. You have to make sure that what you put out is a quality product. I see here that Comic Book Resources just put out an article that says Warner Brothers Discovery reports an $825 million loss in the second quarter. That's you're approaching $1 billion loss. That means they are throwing money away. You have to tighten that down. You have to focus on quality over quantity, unless you're talking about the 90 Day Fiancé universe, apparently, which a lot of people love that stuff.
My wife loves that more than
they're
anything.
They're not. If you're looking at the CW shows, if you're looking at the slated film projects, they're just throwing stuff against the wall. How many different Batmans are you going to have show up in the number of films in the last 2 or 3 years? That's not to say I wouldn't love to see Michael Keaton Batman on screen. I would love to see Michael Keaton Batman on screen, but it has to be in the right property at the right time for the right reasons with the right script. They're not doing that. They're just shoving things in there. You have to stop hiring wackos like Ezra Miller and Amber Heard. Stop hiring directors who have good visual eyes like Zack Snyder, but can't tell a character-driven story to save his life. You have to prioritize quality over quantity. And this goes back to the prior comment I made about about the difference between being an artist versus a commercial artist. You want a lot of people to see these films. That means you have to go after the four quadrants: old, young, male, female. You have to go over the broadest audience possible, and a majority of the audience that's going to go after these properties are, I hate to say it, middle-aged white guys with disposable income. They're
Retired dentists.
Yeah, you're not going to want to see these race swap, gender swap, doing different things with different versions of characters that have no correlation to the fan base that's been built over, in some cases, over decades. That doesn't make sense. You want the people with money to spend to go and buy your stuff. If you want them to do that, you have to create the stuff that they want to buy. It's very symbiotic. Yes. It's very straightforward. You make the stuff that people want to buy. You don't make the stuff that you want to make and then get mad at them when they don't buy the stuff. That's how you have to prioritize your efforts.
I understand that's this should be common sense, but we have now entered a world in the last about 10 years where corporations get to decide exactly what we get, and you will like it or fucking else. And they believe that they are, because they've all grown to the point where, and honestly, 2008 kind of taught us this, where they're too big to fucking fail. Yeah. No one, the government, they'll just give them money. They'll fail. Fuck it. Who cares? There will be always someone there to bail them out when their market doesn't do what they want it to. And then they'll blame the market and hope to, and they found that the effectiveness of public internet shaming for, weirdo activists has been rather effective. So they're just trying to do it back to you. That's what it comes down to. Shame you into compliance. But the force you to like the thing that we're giving you. Fuck what you want. Fuck you if you complain about it. We'll just say you're a bad person, and then you'll feel, you'll get all scared and buy the thing we're trying to force on you.
But here's the difference. Now, the topic is about the films in the TV version, but look at the small publishers and what's happening, especially in the past couple of weeks, and how they're learning that lesson in a very painful way. Look at Oni. Look at IDW. Look at what's going on with Valiant right now. They are, all three of those in particular are on the verge of collapse. They know it. Everyone seems to know it. Mm-hmm. But the reason they did that is because they were chasing Hollywood. They were writing stuff that nobody wanted. They were taking, in the case of IDW, they were taking existing properties like G.I. Joe and Transformers and writing weird kind of old version, weird takes.
I get that.
It's the same mentality, even though we're talking about comics. But it's the same mentality of, I want to write what I want to write, and you're the bad person because you're not buying it. That's the wrong approach.
I understand that. You are correct. And the current recession situation and everything like that is going to take out a lot of the people that this didn't work for. The only problem is, what you're going to be left with? You're going to be left with a more of a monopoly with less availability. Yeah, you're going to have the occasional, okay, fine, crowdfunding, and you'll get people like Eric July that has success. We need to see if it's sustainable. But you're going to have a giant void, and all you're doing is making the big 2, big 3, big 4 more important. So all the little ones are there's not going to be other new little ones to take their place because money's too expensive now. Because we put ourselves in a situation where money is too expensive. The too big to fail ones will get bailed out with more fake money. The little ones that failed at their success, that weren't able to parlay it into something bigger, will fall apart. And everyone that could theoretically, in years past, in decades past, that would go into come up and start filling that void, they can't afford the money because the money's too expensive now. So all you're doing is creating a situation where the rich will get, the rich companies will get richer. They will have less competition and less threat from below, and they've successfully burned the ladder behind them even better.
Well, they also acquired all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've kind of all been bought out. There's not a lot of competition, unfortunately, in movies anymore. kind of the same people making the same movies over and over. But for the most part, I find all this stuff kind of refreshing of MVP, where we have somebody at least looking out for this stuff and wants a clear vision of what the DCU is going to be. It's been basically a mess lately.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have seen a lot of movies and shows that are kind of they're characters that like no one really asked for, which for some people, like, sure, that's fine, but for a lot of others, like, you have titles, like you have a Batman, a Superman, a Wonder Woman, and it would be really refreshing, like you said, Wes, to see those big names in these great movies, and I think right now is a perfect time to do so, because when you have Marvel putting out just like content where you're just consuming, and it's like every other month you're getting a new thing, DC could really kind of hone in on their quality, and they could take advantage of this and like pounce on that opportunity to go, well, we're gonna do something completely different, and DC could maybe then take the upper hand. But like you said, Wes, I think we're getting a lot of just the same stuff by the same, like, even if it's different writers or different directors, it's still the same formula, and that just gets so tired and old.
We do have some peoples in the with the super chats. Let's hit those up. Sigma Comics, we got H.H. Durbin. Shout out from C2E2. Keep it tuned into Thinking Critical and support these great comic book experts. Hit the like button. Was about to speak to Chris Claremont, but had to take a call. Looks like he's involved in controversy. Yes, he is. Doc and I are going to have a full video on that later tonight. We've already recorded it. I just need to go through some pictures and clean it up a little bit. Should be pretty interesting to see what the fallout for Chris Claremont is. I hope you get to speak to him. It would be a great honor. And congratulations on all the success. C2E2 is a huge convention. If you have a chance, if you're out there, try and find Sigma Comics and HH and the guys from Sigma Comics and hit them up. They'll definitely sell you on some Here Comes Calico. I know you met him, right, MVP?
Yeah, and I was going to say real quick, this man is one of the hardest working creators out there right now. I saw him at WonderCon in Anaheim. I saw him in Dallas at the Dallas Fan Expo, and now he's over at C2E2, and he just continues to go to each convention. Every single time there's an opportunity, he's out there promoting his book, and his booth is fantastic. Every time I go over to see him, he's got people over there that he's pitching Calico to because he's so passionate about it. So hail to HH, and yeah, man, he's a hard working MFer.
Did you roll with him? Did you try and take him on some little MMA?
I wouldn't stand a chance. Even though
in the Marines, MVP would have had to. That was part of his training, was MMA. Some hand-to-hand fighting.
We did do a lot of martial arts training, a lot of what's called the Marine Corps Mixed Martial Arts Program. But from what I understand, HH is like well versed in just straight boxing. Like he
came up as a boxer, but he was doing MMA. He was on shows with like Vitor Belfort before he made it to UFC.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah.
He sent me a picture with him with all these like legendary like Hall of Fame fighters. I was like, there you go.
That is cool. I believe it, man. And that's the thing, is that you wouldn't expect it, but then all of a sudden he gets you. So
nicest guy in the world, but he can defend himself.
Exactly.
Wolfsteed 3D says Zaslav must be the Antichrist for major parts of DC Comics in particular, a guy that looks first and foremost at the bottom line and profitability. That certainly does throw a wrench in their program there, Doc, where you have to be successful to continue to work.
Yeah, it does. In which case, the entire company will be shuttered next week. I mean, it is. First of all, we have to figure out what he defines as success. I mean, that's the first major step. Is success. Money. Yes, I understand, but how much profit? What kind of return on investment are we talking? Does it need to do it in the floppies, or is it still considered a success if it doesn't make its revenue back and start generating profit until trade sales? Are they going to have a strong digital strategy?
I don't think he's going to be that micro.
No, I understand that, but that's what we need to figure out. What they're going to define as success. Is it a 30-day, 90-day, 180-day, or 365-day return on investment, and what kind of percentage do they need? That's going to be the big determining factor. Now, you may end up with a situation where the editors are put in a position where basically they don't have any choice but axe the line down to like a dozen, 15, maybe 20 titles total.
Well, I think the key thing, Doc, is that they're not going to have any choice where they can't just go out and destroy characters that DC Comics see as part of their brand that are important just on whims.
No, that will be nice.
That's the positive outcome.
That is the positive outcome. Now, thing is, though, they may be able, you may have editorial able to spin it to allow them to periodically do that. We don't know, especially if it's not one of the 15 or 20 main characters that are going to be having titles, and considering that 2 of them are going to be Batman, at least 2 of them are going to be Superman, at least 16 titles for the rest of the entire universe. Some of the other characters, they may be able to completely bastardize them if they can convince, I guess, corporate that it will be a net gain in the end.
We shall see. Common Sense says it's a shame we won't see Brendan Fraser in Batgirl the movie. He heard he's the villain firefighter. That's a rare for playing a villain. Yeah, Brendan Fraser is such a nice guy. You never see him play a bad guy there, MVP. I was hoping to see that, but I understand why they're getting rid of it. If it was going to be a black eye on DC films, why would you put it out?
Yeah, I love Brendan Fraser, and he's been through some really like kind of weird and tough, difficult times through his career. And so it would have been great to see him kind of come back and do a cool role and kind of make a name for himself again. And maybe we could see more roles from him. There are a lot of people that that were probably in this film that we would have loved to see. I think Commissioner Gordon was going to be played by J.K. Simmons, stuff like that. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I feel bad for the actors for them not having that, role being portrayed. But at the end of the day, like Gabe was saying earlier, this is a money, like Zaslav is a businessman. And if it's not going to bring in any money, he has to make this just a tax write-off and cut it as a loss.
Do you think eventually this will be released on HBO Max, like in a couple of years? It can't be.
No, he's taking an insurance claim on it.
Oh, okay.
If he's going to take a loss, he can't release it later because then it doesn't count as a loss, and he'd have to take that payout back.
Okay, so there's wow.
Should never ever come out and see the light of day.
It's going to be the Roger Corman movie.
Yeah, okay. You're going to see convention tables where they have a little USB stick drive with a bootleg copy. That's how it's going to be.
That's cool.
Somebody will sneak it out. Somebody will sneak a copy out. It'll never get released wide. It'll be the Gen 13 animated movie, the Fantastic Four Roger Corman movie. Yeah, the Warren Ellis Global Frequency.
Well, at least with the Fantastic Four movie, at least with the Corman Fantastic Four movie, I understand the motivation there. They had to put something out to keep the license rights. So at least I get that. Right. This was just a poor decision from start to finish. We're back.
Cal Miles says, "Hail Zaslav! I hope he fires people." And you all know I have a list of people off the 2 tops of Vitamos. I never want to see again. I don't think he'll be firing anybody at a level that low, but I think we will see the sea changes happen as they get rid of the redundancies. I don't know if they can cut down the editorial staff anymore. It feels like it was already bare bone, but there will be some changes. And I don't think Tom King will be one of those changes. I think of all the writers they have, he's actually one that probably generates more money than most.
Exactly. I mean, he unfortunately is good. He's successful at his job, and he's not good at his job. It's like he's like who's that chef with the that nobody likes with the Mario Batali. He's like
the redhead
show. Yeah,
the redhead guy with the Crocs.
Yeah, the guy with the Crocs, and oh God. He said one time he got fired by a chef. Why is this guy
here on Iron Chef? It makes no sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, gee. He said he got fired one time when he was a young chef, and on his way out, he put a handful of salt in all of the chef's sauces and soups, and that's about the guest, you motherfucker. dude, that's
Whoa.
rank. You don't do that.
What a
Oh, you can do that.
unprofessional
You
wiener.
into it.
I mean, I can't. Back on the topic there, I can't see Zaslav getting rid of anybody on the creative side of the house because there's just basically nobody left. You're already skeleton crew. I mean, if you get rid of anybody at this point, the lines have to shut down. I can't rightfully see how any book could stand to lose 2 or 3 staff members on any title line or any family or group because there's nobody left. So
hopefully there's a refocus on the characters and providing synergy. Obviously, we'll see at the end because it sounds like he's not very happy with some of their takes on characters. Your friendly neighborhood banker. They should make a making of Batgirl movie like The Disaster Artist. Get James Franco and Seth Rogen on it ASAP. Filming a superhero disaster I'd watch. It's one of those things. You know, you're going to get a documentary about this, right? Like the one that they made about the Superman movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Except that one's actually interesting.
Yeah.
That if they did one about this one, it would be like 3 seconds long, and it would just be Zaslav
reaction and people losing their minds, and
or they would make it about they don't want a strong female woman character as a protagonist, and they'd make it about some
Wonder
sort of
Woman
ideology.
did really well. I think they wanted that character to stay strong.
Yeah, I think they are going to make another Wonder Woman 1980 whatever movie or something. I don't know.
They already made 1984. It didn't do very well, but they released it on the HBO Max at the same time.
Yeah, it was rough.
They're not doing that anymore.
Well, I mean, we had a little bit of a debate going on in the Slack chat with the Weird Science guys about how are they going to reboot the cinematic universe when you still got Cavill and Momoa and Godot and everybody else. And my point on that one was, if you can have 3 or 4 Batmans in this time span of about 10 years, you can have 3 or 4 Supermans, you can have 3 or 4 Wonder Woman. Cavill is replaceable. I love Cavill, and I think he looks the part. He is replaceable.
Yeah.
Godot is great. I think she fits the part. She looks the part. She is replaceable. They're all replaceable. Yes. So if Zaslav wants to move on, he's got to get a clean slate, and that may mean getting rid of those actors. I love them, but they're replaceable, and we have to. If we want to move on, you got to do it.
Likely. Dylan Lindsay says, "Hey everyone, it looks like Zaslav actually cares about the prestige of the characters, but he recognizes that they can make money if treated right." That's the big thing. It's all about you want to protect your brand and make sure that they're as profitable and as interesting across the board as they possibly can be. And not many people have been looking at the characters that way. And I think that it's refreshing. Someone is going to take a stance on the characters themselves. We'll see how it goes. He's not a comic book guy. He's not a comic book movie guy, but obviously he is inspired by the MCU and their success there. And I think if they bring it back to the roots and find the right producer that can make an entire line of movies, it'll go well. It shouldn't be a comic book person, though. I know people have said, put Jeff Johns in charge. Like, no, you need a person that likes comic books, that likes DC Comics, but knows how to produce movies and keep the schedule rolling.
Didn't he just hire somebody who used to work on the MCU?
Alan Horn.
Well, he did as a consultant.
He brought in Alan
We're
Horn.
talking like the Kevin Feige person.
Right.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And bringing in Alan Horn, I think, was the right move because that's somebody who's been there, done that. He knows how that process works of setting up a long-term strategy. And Alan Horn definitely knows how to do that. So, I mean, he's had his ups and downs, but if you're going to hire somebody to kind of shake up the DCEU and get it back into shape, Alan Horn's a good choice.
Yeah, he was in the room while it happened.
Yep.
As long as it's not JJ.
It's not gonna be JJ. They already have a deal with him. HH says, Gabe, issue 5 is now out, and I'm sending you 1 through 5 of Here Comes Calico for your review. You don't do fluff. You tell it like it is. That's the only way we want it.
All right, you asked for it.
Tear a hole in HH, even though he can put you in a go-go plot and put you out.
I'm firm but fair. So, yeah, go on, send it on, and we'll take care of it.
Absolutely. That'll be fun to read. Josh says Zaslav is clearly looking to reboot the general DC universe, but to buy time, it could be cool to get a Kingdom Come film as a goodbye for this cast.
That would be nice.
Would be cool. We've seen the Kingdom Come Superman in the Flash universe.
The only thing is that my fear is that we don't have enough good writers that would be able to adapt Kingdom Come onto the big screen. Because in my opinion, I think Kingdom Come is one of the great stories in modern comics.
It would be so appropriate for this, like the next generation, not getting along with the older generation. And I mean, look at the kids in Kingdom Come. That is like the kids today. They're like, it's outrageous.
It does speak to you. If you read it today, like the first time, you will think that it was being written for today.
Yeah. What's it? Almost 30 years old?
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if Zaslav has been mum on canceling the Flash film, especially with Ezra's controversy and everything else, because he intended to use that to do a Thanos snap and clear out the Snyderverse and all the dregs that came along with it. Maybe that's why it's been pushed and delayed, because he's going to heavily rework that film. He's probably thinking it'd be better to throw some money into that, use that as a in-continuity excuse to reboot the whole universe. Maybe not in its current form, but if they do a lot of reworks, a lot of reshoots, or a lot of rewrites, that would be the stepping stone where they could just sort of, you close the film with this bright white light and it all just disappears, and then they start over. So that might be an opportunity. That might be a reason why they're keeping that film, despite its own controversies, as opposed to canceling everything else.
Cal Lyle says, "Thank God Jay isn't here." Anyway, I read some of the Batgirl script they put up, and it's bad, very bad. It's Twitter talk. No one talks like that. I love Fatal J. He's at a birthday party, or he would be here. Fatal J is amazing. That guy's hilarious. I don't understand. How can anyone not like Fatal J, Max?
I can't understand it. I met the dude in person in Dallas, and he is just as lively in person as he is on streams. So he's super fun. Like the second you go up to like meet him, he just shines like this bright, energetic, like what's going on, man? Like gives you a big old hug. Like he's great. So I think he's as authentic as he is on streams as he is in person. Good dude.
He's a great guy. I love that guy. Common Sense says, have you heard that Paul Dini wrote the Scoob sequel movie, Haunt Holiday, and he's really mad with WB that they shelved the movie along with Batgirl? I bet anybody that's involved with these movies that put their heart and soul into them and written them or directed them and had everything almost to the end point, and then the movie gets scrapped at the end, they should be pissed. I don't blame them, and I bet that's going to leave some sour taste in a lot of people's mouths that don't want to work with Warner Brothers in the short term and possibly forever. And I completely get that. I think Paul Dini won't be one of those people because he's so intrinsically tied to DC Comics itself that he's probably going to get more work in the future and stuff. But I don't blame him for being pissed. I'd be pissed. Probably put a lot of work into that.
This one I don't understand because animation is very expensive compared to filming live action. Yeah. Animation is very expensive. And to my understanding, the Scoob sequel was more complete and very nearly ready for release than the Batgirl film was. So this one was closer to the finish line. And then it's a Scooby-Doo kids movie, which is like, kids will watch anything if you flick it on and just put it in front of their faces half the time, especially when it's a known property. So this one I don't quite understand, unless
I think the thing is, Gabe.
Yeah, go for it.
These are movies that were developed and produced strictly for HBO Max and not for theatrical release. Right. And it sounds like Zaslav's strategy is we will produce nothing new that's like scripted for HBO Max. It's going to combine with Discovery Plus. They'll take the stuff that they produce for like HBO and stuff like that. It'll be incorporated into HBO Max, but there will be no new like exclusive material like your Green Lantern, your Batgirl movie, your Scoob movie that's intended for HBO Max. If they're going to put money into a movie, it's going to go to the theaters. And if they're going to do a scripted show, it's going to go on to like HBO or one of their other channels.
Okay. So I believe you. That makes sense. And if that's the case, the Scoob movie sounds like more like an unfortunate casualty of just being in that middle space where, it could have made some money if they put it out on DVD or Blu-ray or something like that for kids to just pick up cheap at Walmart. But if it's like, if it's not suitable for theaters, we're not going to do it. Then I think it's just an unfortunate casualty then.
Yeah.
Did they cancel Velma?
I hope they cancel Velma.
Did they cancel Velma?
I was about to say.
Not
I hope.
That would be good.
It's a cool character.
I like Velma, but
not the version they're doing.
Earth 4 Velma.
Jordan Fugate says Zaslav's focus on quality is encouraging. how does everyone feel about his new 10-year plan? Do they need to completely reboot? I think
Yeah.
having a plan is encouraging, and a 10-year plan makes sense as long as they stick to it. It's worked for the MCU. They came out, they had some initial successes, and they started mapping out bigger and bigger plans. And I think it all worked out in the end because there was a clear vision forward, and they were able to execute it because they knew what was coming next.
They need the 10-year plan must be somewhat malleable. It also can't rely on too many things that are unknowns at this point. They have to have a solid foundation for where their starting point is. And a dedication. The reason why the first three phases of the MCU were successful is because they adhered generally to a bit of a mishmash between the Ultimate Marvel Universe comic books and the Marvel Universe comic books, successfully combined them, but stayed true to the characters for the most part, and generally and stayed true to the themes of the storylines that they adapted. They made minor and mostly irrelevant modifications here and there, and they simplified a lot of things, but they did not deviate significantly from the source material.
Well, they're certainly doing that now, but certainly at the beginning, there was pretty faithful adaptations.
And you're seeing it with the flop of
Phase 4.
Phase 4.
Yeah.
You're seeing that the result is they deviated, and you're getting pre-MCU, Fox, Fantastic Four, Ghost Rider, level success again, because it reverted back to the norm because you deviated from the successful path. You went to the unsuccessful path and surprisingly got unsuccessful fucking results.
Yep. So, Carrie, do they need to completely reboot?
I think they do. I think they need to reboot, and they need to keep a plan together, just like Doc was saying, and stick to it and not drop out of it like they've done before, where they suddenly said, no, we're going to do standalone movies and then go to try to do a years ago. To just reboot and stay focused on game plan.
I would say they need to reboot as well. Unfortunately, Carrie's audio is just a little bit choppy right now because she does have some thunderstorms. But we got what you're saying, Carrie. I just want people to know that we're experiencing it too. Lade Kramer says, we have lost so many creators like George Perez, some wonderful actors like David Warner. Yeah. Let's honor and love creators like Claremont. Let's not attack. Yep. You definitely need to appreciate what you got while it's here. There's only so many legendary creators like Claremont that are going to be around. And it does suck when you see him kind of get attacked like that, Gabe. It's just...
Yeah, okay. So there is truth to the idea of, something being of its time. So things that were written 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes longer years ago, they're not going to hit the same today, but that's because it was the past, and the past was, the society was different, the culture was different, and folks just sort of have lost the ability to understand that time changes, that culture progresses, these kinds of things. So when you're picking on a writer for something he said 30, 40 years ago, at the time it was okay. And people just kind of got to get past that. Now, as far as, honoring the people that we have today, Claremont's getting long in the tooth. Writers like Gaiman and Alan Moore and all these, big name creators, they're getting long in the tooth. And so you got to appreciate them while they're still around, A. B, I'm constantly on the hunt for, okay, who are the new Claremonts? Who are the new Moores? Who are the new Gaimans? And unfortunately, I'm not seeing a whole lot to look at, and it's so on the one hand, appreciate who came from the past, but at the same time keep looking for the future. But I'm not seeing a lot of that future, talent pool come up, and that's distressing me a little bit to kind of be in that space. So and honestly, in the culture that we've created with constantly criticizing people for what they've created, not from a review standpoint, I'm just talking about like, cancellation and all that nonsense and all that Twitter hype. You're effectively making it hard for people to present themselves publicly, to take that step, to be brave and put their work out there and show what they've got. And if you keep doing that, and if you keep creating a culture and an ecosystem of fear and apprehension, you're never going to let those creatives be heard, because you're so worried, because you're creating an atmosphere where everybody's afraid to be heard. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Let people be creative, encourage those who want to be creative, and let the cream rise to the top, because we've got to replace the old guard before too much longer. They're going to be gone, and nobody wants to be in that space.
And I'll just say real quick too, is not only are they kind of discouraging writers because of this whole cancellation thing, but they're also discouraging writers like Walt Simonson, who is alive and well and should be writing a lot of stuff right now. And they're going, oh, well, your stuff really wouldn't translate to modern audiences. And that's like bullshit, man. That's such a terrible take. It's ridiculous. And the fact that corporations, that the companies like Marvel and DC are holding these creators back because they don't think they're going to fit to a modern audience is such a terrible take, like I said. So I agree with you, Gabe. And it's not just the fact of the whole cancellation thing. It's also these big corporations saying no to creators who are around.
Well, I think the whole won't appeal to a modern audience. They intentionally created a modern audience that would be offended by those creators. They alienated the ones that weren't, that was the vast majority. And then they used that the audience that they created as a justification to not pay the people that would bring in the old audience. I mean, we see it constantly right now with Peter David at Marvel. Every fucking thing he does is basically loved, but can't get him on anything for more than 5-issue miniseries.
Yeah, and take the opposite view, not from the creator, but from the creation itself. What is one of the best books that are coming out from DC right now? Wes, I know you know what I'm going to say about this. What's one of the best DC comics out right now?
It's going to be World's Finest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
World's Finest is right in that sweet spot of Bronze Age comic storytelling, both from the art, the action, the pacing, everything about that story fits right in that bronze and a little bit later age of storytelling. And so when you say, well, comics don't work for a modern audience, the best received book that's out right now coming from DC, it fits within that vein of art and storytelling that comes from 40 years ago. So when somebody comes along, and if I see an editor come along and say, well, that wouldn't work today, I would fire that editor on the spot. If I was that stuff, I would fire that editor on the spot. Say, you have no idea what you're talking about, because the best book that we have right now, the book that's getting the highest praise and the most interest and the most buzz and the most word of mouth, is a book that was written in the style that was popular 40 years ago.
If you want to see if Walt Simonson still got it, go read his Ragnarok series on IDW. The man still got it. He still can write, and he definitely can still illustrate a comic book.
Read his.
Great Geekery says DC Comics is essentially income-generating marketing for the DC brand. The cuts are focused on marketing and administrative cost-cutting. That is absolutely true. Most places do view comic books as marketing for their characters and just kind of fleshing them out, almost like call them pamphlets or whatever, to kind of promote their characters in their universe. And they're definitely, most of the cuts that we're going to be seeing through I guess Thanksgiving, I guess is when they're going to happen. It's mostly going to be, what do they call them? Redundancies. Now that you've combined the Warner Media stuff with Discovery, there's going to be a lot of people that have the exact same jobs for both companies, and they got to find the ones that are right for the new company moving forward, and they're going to do a lot of firing there. But if you listen to Zaslav, and he just had his investor call on Thursday, he specifically focused in on DC films and DC properties and says, we have not handled these properties well. The characterization has not been well. We haven't been treating Superman correctly. So yes, there's going to be a lot of cuts that are focused on these the redundancies for cost-cutting measures, and they are trying to cut $3 billion in money that they had already earmarked to spend out of everything. But it's clear that he's also looking for someone that can lead DC Comics or just the DC brand forward, that focuses in on the characters and makes sure that they're still marketable and that they're protecting the characters and what they represent. Would you agree with that, Gabe? Obviously, you're more in the world, that kind of world, than I am.
Well, I agree with it. What I'm hearing is I'm hearing a lot of talk. I'm not saying Zazov's wrong, and I'm not saying he's not going to do that. But I'm sort of right now just because we've heard so much lip service over the past 5 to 10 years.
Well, he canceled that.
Well, yeah,
he canceled the Supergirl movie.
Canceling is easier than creating.
That's
easier.
true.
It's easier to destroy than create. I'll believe it when I see the plan. When I see the plan, then I'll say, okay.
But I'm saying it's clear from his actions that what they were doing with Batgirl in the future of the DCEU, he thought was terrible, and he would rather eat $80 million already spent than go forward with that vision that something better had to come out.
I 100%. I'm in agreement with that move. I think that was the right move, despite everybody's wailing and gnashing of teeth. That was the right move.
Mhm.
I'd rather take the loss than take the reputational hit. It's easier to deal with a loss on the books than it is to deal with a bad reputation. That's the right move. Now I want to see what he can create. Who are the directors? Who are the script writers?
Mhm.
Who are the characters? If it was me, I would start with the Trinity, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman separately. Establish what that new universe looks like. Then go forward. I would exactly like Marvel did. I wouldn't touch Justice League at least until you got 2, 3, 4 layers of sequels in on each of the Trinity at least.
Yeah.
Then go into a Justice League and then give them the right villain. I think somebody in the chat mentioned Legion of Doom. I think that's the right call. I would establish those villains for each one of the Trinity separately, like Cheetah and Lex Luthor and Scarecrow and all that other stuff. Then give them a
Strong, Sinestro.
I would love to see a big screen Solomon Grundy. I would kill to see a big screen Solomon Grundy. Start right. Establish your base, your foundation. But that's all comes in the plan. When I see the plan, then I'll say, okay, he's in the right direction. It's easy to say it, but I want to see the plan first. When I see the plan, then I'll be on board.
And I think that it's important to note that the plan is not some large Hall H cluster of just, here are 30 different films and shows that we're going to do for this next year. A plan is legitimate writing, great creators, hiring the right people for the right positions, and the best people for the best positions. So, Gabe, I agree with you, and it doesn't look like a clusterfuck on top of Hall H with all these different movies and shows and stuff.
Max, you dare suggest a meritocracy?
Dylan Lindsay said
How'd
he'd
that work
rather
out for
have
Star
10.
Wars?
Yeah.
Dylan Lindsay says he'd rather have 10 good comics from DC than 20 bad comics. I think that's what we'd all like. An emphasis on quality over quantity would do entertainment just wide, would do it well. Far too many.
That may have to start with getting rid of Jim Lee.
I don't know if it would have to do
surprised.
with getting rid of Jim. I think
Or getting rid of Jim Lee and replacing him who's somebody who is vested in getting back into touch with what the readers want.
I don't think that necessarily requires the removal of Jim Lee. I think it just requires putting someone in place.
Well, when you're trying to save a lot of money, Jim Lee makes a lot of money. You could probably hire somebody at half the price.
And I guarantee, first of all, we're still dealing with the same Jim Lee. That the guy's still basically under contract forever.
Listen, if Jim Lee goes, that means Heather Antos is going to get hired somehow.
Look,
so
they
got to keep him.
They bought Jim Lee whenever they bought Wildstorm, the same way that Netflix bought Mark Millar.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hearing chatter that McFarlane is being courted to replace Lee. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not. It's just chatter, but that would be an interesting swap. I think
that would be odd. He's an executive at Image Comics.
He have his hands full already.
And he has ownership there.
With Jim Lee kind of money, he might be tempted.
He has Jim Lee kind of money. He's got McFarlane toys.
He doesn't. He does comics still because he likes comics. He has very little interest in. He doesn't want to work on anybody else's properties.
Mm-hmm.
He said that more times than I can count.
That's great.
And he's already got. They can't entice him with money because he's already got money. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't need whatever they pay him would be less than what he's going to take home from a month. Every year is less than what he's going to take home a month from his toy company, and he's not going to be able to effectively run his toy company while he's trying to run DC.
I don't know how much money his toy company, but I bet he makes a lot of money. Plus, there's potential of the Spawn movie coming out, which he definitely gets more points on than most anything people with DC and Marvel get related to. So
that's what needs a reboot. We need a new Spawn movie. That's what we
Jamie
really
Foxx.
need.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Really?
Happy Steve says, in my opinion, I think these actors in these canceled movies should be given another role in DC moving forward. It probably was bad writer-director fault.
Yeah, I don't think the actor should be blamed.
Right
I see a lot of hate.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the actors are at fault or not. They are the public face of it. They're the ones, even if you found the perfect writer for it, the movie will still be stained by virtue of the fact that the same actor is in it as the bad movie. It's the reason why you couldn't, even if you had, with like the Marvel couldn't do Nick Cage Ghost Rider in the MCU because it would still have the stain on it of the two, while I admittedly love them as guilty pleasures, unsuccessful Ghost Rider films that were generally hated.
Well, does that mean they should never hire Nick Cage because he was associated with the Ghost Rider movie?
No, it means that they can't use Nick Cage as Ghost Rider. They can hire him
he's
for
just saying
something
they should
else.
find him new roles.
Yeah, but all you're doing at that point, you're just playing. It's one thing to do it with one actor. It's another thing to just play musical characters with the same exact.
I don't think it's a. I mean, if you can find the right role for him, I say do it. But I don't think you should be forcing people into roles.
If you wanted to keep Ben Affleck around as something, if you wanted to keep, Henry Cavill around,
Batman.
but I know people like Ben Affleck's.
He's
Batman.
talking about Batgirl, Leslie Grace.
Yes, you can give Brendan Fraser another job. He already has one. It's on Doom Patrol.
Yeah, he's great.
Robot Man.
He's great as Cliff Steele.
But
I say if they can find the right part, go for it. If not, there's no reason to just stunt cast someone in somewhere where it doesn't really make sense. Doc has a suggestion for what they should do. He says Paul Dini for DCEU head.
He has the Hollywood understanding.
He has run an animated universe, which gives him a head up on a lot of comic book people.
Correct.
That animated universe, yeah.
It is an animated universe, as long as he can find people that would work well to do in the major differences from live action to like location scouting. He can still do the actor and the story direction stuff, but he'd need to find directors of photography that are much better at live action versus animation. He'd need to find all those people.
I'm sure there are producers that do that for you.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Universe.
Yeah, when it comes to like a stewardship of this grand vision of what we see as the DC universe, I mean, nobody did it better than Paul Dini and Bruce Timm and Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I mean, everyone was there. Everyone had a modernized outfit. Everyone had their place and kept their voice. It was a wonderful experience seeing who is going to be in the next episode of JLU. Who are they going to pull out of the big that creeper, man? That was great. I mean, what do you think?
Well, let me ask real quick. Did anyone see the most recent Green Lantern movie, the animated movie that came out? I think it was with Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart?
Yeah.
I heard it was not as good as the source material it pulls from.
Oh, dang.
It seems like giving him Kyle
back.
Rayner's origin, and that's not Jon Stewart's story. Jon Stewart has
Oh.
his own story,
They've been
Yeah,
doing
he's
that with the DC animation, where they've been mixing up stories and putting with characters that they don't belong and stuff.
If they take away Jon Stewart's Marine Corps background, I'm making a video.
As long as he's Air
I need
Force,
to
I'm
get-
all for it.
Oh, get out of here.
Look at
he
this
really
guy,
thinks they're
airman
Marine
all over him.
snipers.
He's a great wingman.
That was a late addition to the story too. In a way.
Sorry, say that again.
Jon Stewart's being in the Marines that was kind of a late addition to his overstory. That came about wasn't that like the Judd Winnick like Dale Eaglesham run that introduced that?
No, I guess you're right, huh?
Before that, he was just a civil engineer, and that was like the big thing of him making constructs with his rings. That you could see him drawing it from the inside out, making foundations and on center spacing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's how John Stewart's
cool.
mind worked as a Green Lantern. I always loved that.
But making him a Marine fit within his personality as a civil engineer, because it's very much about rules and straight lines and right angles.
Yeah,
which is very much a military mentality. So even though it might have been a late addition, it still fit with who he was.
Right, exactly.
And he should have been Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
There are,
you're
probably
right there, MVP. I think he should have been an airman. You know what I mean?
I never said. Whoa, now you're putting words into my mouth. What's going on here?
Look, we don't have time.
Chat, you witnessed this firsthand. Someone's gonna chop this stream.
We already
up
have Hal Jordan. I would love to bring in. Him to the fold as well.
No. Hal Jordan is one of the greatest Green Lanterns of all time, and he's Air Force. We need our Marine Corps representation in John Stewart.
That's
okay.
a good. I like. And Kyle Rayner represents us slackers, which I love.
James Hannaford says, "Do you think the DC writers and editors are fitting as much SJW stuff as they can in the books because they know they're probably on their way out when Zaz finally looks at the comic side of DC?" I do not believe that is a nefarious plan.
I don't think it's nefarious.
But bad editors right now.
I don't think it's nefarious. I think it's, hey, fuck it, I'll do whatever I want. That's not nefarious. That's actually joyful.
Well, he's saying, do you think they're doing it on purpose? I don't think they're like, yes, it's all hands on deck. Let's throw SJW garbage into DC Comics because we might not be able to do it next week.
No. I think
it's that.
No, but I think they're saying, I'm going to stick as much of my head canon as I can in here. Because I'll never have to deal with the consequences. Well, no, I think they're doing whatever their headcanon is, and most of them happen to be. I don't think it's intentional. The SJW stuff isn't intentional. It is the consequence of the type of writers that they're hiring and their desire to just force their headcanon into actual canon, because so many of these people are weirdly obsessed with, well, it's in canon now. It's in canon now. Fuck you people. Shut up. I don't care.
What do you think, Gabe? Obviously, you weird science DC. You do a lot of DC comics. Do you think there's something going on?
Hey, Doc is right, I think, for once, which is I don't think it's a plan to kind of scuttle the lines and the properties. I think it's just a simple matter of you have writers that are left to their own devices with no oversight, no planning, no interaction with an overall strategy of what the stories need to do. You have untrained or incapable editors that are just scrambling to keep their head above water.
I think that's what the real problem is.
And they're just like, well, okay, well, here's something. And they're just going with it because nobody's telling them otherwise. They have no time to really craft and strategize and plan. And so it's just right by the seat of your pants storytelling. And whatever comes out is what comes out. I think it's just an absence of oversight. Is just
the type of writers that they have on cast, their default mentality is that. So they just shove in whatever comes into their fucking Twitter brain into there, because they don't got to fucking work at it. They're not getting paid enough. They definitely don't have any oversight, and they don't have to deal with the consequences if it's shit. So fuck it. Whatever
I don't think they care if they're getting. I don't think they even care because they don't think they're going to get fired.
That's a good
point.
Well, if they're contractors, they're not really hired in the first place.
Hired.
Well, I mean, they think.
Yeah, right. But your point is valid. Your point is valid. That there's no consequence for doing a bad job.
Right, and this is like I actually have empathy for the editors, even though they're doing a terrible job, like Jordan White. I am like, he must be scared to say to any of these writers, no, you have to change this and make it like this, because what's the writer going to do? They're going to leverage their identity and being like, hey, he's trying to take my voice and words away from me. And
exactly,
I have so much like they have painted themselves into this corner. We have to wait till the paint dries, don't we?
The great part's going to be whatever the end result is. Okay, fine. We just don't hire you people anymore.
Yes,
exactly.
Horizons. Sorry, Doc. We got to keep moving on. We're almost 2 hours into the show. We've only got two topics. We got to get through more. Mr. DC Comics. It's that brand new Batman the Animated Series canceled. Also, if they reboot DCEU, the new actors all need to be young for sequels, and they need to show the heroes learning how to use their powers. The Legion of Doom. I'm not sure about the brand new the Batman the Animated Series. They don't want new scripted television for HBO Max, but if they were creating for that for another platform that they have and then it ended up on HBO Max, perhaps. Obviously, it kind of brings into Young Justice's future into doubt because that's also specifically for HBO Max. As far as young actors, I don't think they all need to be young, but they definitely need to be youthful at least to where they can do like the big 8-picture deals that Marvel Studios were doing, which I think worked out really well for them.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody?
Nope.
I
Look,
think
all I know
she'd
is
also
Tom
take
Cruise
a chance
is-
to new people. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, no, that's true. No, that's true. Oh, but on the flip side of that, Tom Cruise is 60 years old and he's still jumping out of airplanes and basically chopping down skyscrapers with a sledgehammer. So age is not the thing it used to be in Hollywood. You can go with an older actor and still pull off quite a number of movies and sequels, even though they might be considered long in the tooth by any normal standard.
Robert Downey Jr. was probably in his 40s when he did Iron Man. Obviously, Chris Evans was younger when he did Captain America, so he can take some chances there.
Ruffalo, he hasn't aged well.
Man, they had a much better Hulk to begin with. I like Ed Norton way better as Hulk.
I do too.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why Ed Norton has never worked with the same person twice.
It's not true. He was in a couple of those Bourne movies. Right?
No, he wasn't.
Was
he
he?
was
He was
Bourne?
Was he?
Ed Norton was never in any of the Bourne movies.
You are absolutely 100% incorrect, sir. He was definitely in a Bourne movie at least, and I believe it was 2 of them. Check it out.
Okay.
Bourne, Ed Norton. Have you searched yet?
I'm looking for Edward Norton right now to see.
I know it works a lot with Wes Anderson.
There you go. He's worked with Wes Anderson a lot.
That's true. Yeah, he's one of those that cadre of.
Yeah, he was in the Bourne Legacy.
He was in the Bourne Legacy only.
Apparently, he wasn't in any more. But you said he wasn't in any Bourne movie, so I was more right than you, I guess.
Okay.
Boy.
You worked with Wes Anderson a lot, although he's a little bit weird. Ed Norton supposedly is a jerk on set and he's hard to deal with, but he was a better Hulk. That's all I got to say.
Oh, yeah, I will agree with that.
Mr. DC Comics says the Legion of Doom needs to be the Justice League's first big challenge before Darkseid. The Rock as Black Adam can even lead it.
Ooh.
I just want to see Blackest Night being the conclusion of Phase 3 or 4. You know what I mean?
Amen. Oh my
You
God.
could
that
kill
would be
off
amazing.
Batman that way and still bring him back as part of the story and stuff.
You can kill off Flash and have Wally step up and get rid of Ezra Miller. That's like the simplest thing. No
They
one
should
thought
just
of
get
that.
Grant Gustin to do that anyway.
That would be awesome. Yeah. And speaking of, like,
you don't like Grant Gustin's Flash.
I love Grant Gustin's Flash.
He's okay, but I'm a little salty over the way he treated his co-star, the guy who played the elongated man, whatever his name was.
Yeah, Hartley.
And he wrote that big letter throwing him under the bus, saying, I condemn this person wholeheartedly. I'm like, man, that's an uncool move, and that's not cool at all.
Yeah.
He's a villain.
The elongated man is a hero. The
You
guy
said
got
Garrett Hartley. He's a villain in the show.
No, Grant Gustin.
Oh, you guys are confused.
Yeah, he wrote that.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
It would be pretty incredible to see Atrocitus on the big screen. I think having those Green Lantern Corps, like all the different Green Lantern Corps, and having Atrocitus.
Love
oh my
Saint
gosh!
Walker. I would love to see Saint Walker on screen.
A real version of Firestorm on the big screen.
Yeah, or even a Deathstorm that looks like an impressive Deathstorm. I think a Deathstorm is one of the creepiest bad guys to come out of any of that Blackest Night stuff. That was the one besides Earth 2 Superman and Deathstorm were like my favorite zombie designs. Those were so cool.
I think having lanterns other than green was fucking stupid. And
oh boy!
Because you're not a DC Comics fan, Doc.
Here we go.
Listen,
Here we go.
And that
Fine,
having a singular yellow lantern that was a corruption of the Green Lantern was the extent of what it should have ended up at.
I think if you're going to expand Green Lantern lore, going into the Spectrum was the right move.
I think you should have had to. I don't think the Spectrum was a good move at all.
I think it was a great move until Scott Snyder decided he was going to go to the ultraviolet light spectrum.
That was stupid. That was just And then Bendis doing what, the Golden Lantern in the 31st century.
Let's not focus on the negativity. Let's do this last one here.
Positive.
Atomic Hound says, in DC films, biggest threat, the public growing tired of the genre and turning to other types of entertainment. What good is a 10-year plan if there's no audience? Congrats on 20K. Well, thank you very much for the congratulations. And there could be some superhero fatigue. There are a lot of superhero films out there. We got franchises. We have them on television, everything. So I could see the love of superheroes dying down a bit. But I think superheroes are, those type of stories I think will be evergreen for the most part, Carrie.
If they do it right and they bring in the right type of people and do the right kind of promotion to say, look, we're redoing this and this is how it's going to be, they could still get the audience. But it all depends on what they're going to do.
Yeah. But those types of stories of heroism and doing the right thing, and those are universal truths. People can look into that stuff and understand it and be moved by it. I think that's why superheroes have taken over. Once they started treating them seriously.
The hero's journey is... I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is my mic breaking up again?
A little bit.
It was, yes.
Okay. Get back to the core of what they are as a heroes, just like you said, Wes, and also focus on a small group. Don't try to throw out too much.
All right, what were you saying there, Gabe? Sorry.
No, I was going to say the hero's journey is a universal kind of storytelling framework. It's been around for thousands of years. People don't get tired of that. There's no hero's journey fatigue. That just doesn't happen. The problem, I'm not trying to say Atomic Hound is wrong. I certainly believe that there's some fatigue setting in, but it's not because people are tired of superheroes. It's because the content that's being created both by Marvel and DC have been subpar. Just to be blunt. And so you're starting to get this corporatized, mediocre pap and just saying, well, this is the new superhero thing, when it's not. I mean, you talk about Batgirl being, gotten, depending on who you believe, got lousy feedback from the screenings. The guys who directed the Batgirl movie are the same guys who directed the Ms. Marvel Disney Plus show. It's the same directors. Yeah. And that show was okay, but it was sort of mediocre and it had some problems. So they're not fatigued with Ms. Marvel. They're not fatigued with Batgirl. They're fatigued with mediocre storytelling. That's the problem. And so you can't just take a mediocre story, slap a superhero veneer on it and say, you're getting tired of superheroes. No, it's the same argument as the Tim Sheridan story. It's the lack of thing that we talked about earlier with the tweet. It's the lack of self-awareness. Like, I gave you what you wanted, but you said you didn't like it. No, you didn't give me what you wanted. You gave me a mediocre story and just put a superhero skin on it and said, this is the great stuff now. That's not how that works. You have to write a good story first within the context of the superhero mythos that has been around for decades. Then people will like it. Then they will pay money for it. Then you will get them on board. You can't just give me a mediocre story, put red, yellow, and blue primary colors on it for Superman and say, this is the new thing now. If you don't love it, you must not love superheroes. It's almost the same thing as the Tim Sheridan tweet. It's the same problem.
And it still has... The solution still has the same problem too. You still have people that are in the creative sphere that believe because it came out of their fucking pen or it got created by made by their production house or studio or publisher, that means that it's good by default.
All right. Well, let's get to this last one so we can get to this Mark Millar stuff. Common Sense says Grant Gustin should take a break from playing the Flash. He is, because it's the next season is the last season. He won't be the Flash anymore. Yeah. Which actor do you think can play the Flash, either Barry or Wally? All right, Jock, who can play the Flash, Barry or Wally?
I don't know actors well enough to honestly think of anybody. So I don't know. Find some guy named Barry.
Who plays Wally West in this show?
It was the
right.
It was a I don't remember what the dude's name was. He was also on the
Gabe,
Amy
you're more of a
Lonsdale.
pop culture kind of guy. Who do you think would make a good Barry Allen or Wally West?
You know, if you okay, fine. You want to have some fun and get a little bit on the nose. Hire that guy that was supposed to do Zan on the Wonder Twins, the guy who plays Archie on Riverdale. Get him to play Wally West. The guy who plays Archie on Riverdale. They hired him, but before they canceled it, they hired him to play Zan and Zan Jana for the Wonder Twins movie.
Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, get him to do Wally West.
Thanks, Neil.
Is that dude's hair actually red? Because
I'm
it
not
looks
sure.
like it
No.
looks
But
like
he
a
dyes
really it looks like a terrible dye job, and like he bleaches his skin. He is creepy to me. So no, I don't want that dude playing Wally.
KJ.
That dude
that's-
creeps me
General
the
Hux.
fuck out.
To play Donald Gleason.
I think it would be cool. I think it'd be cool to get someone who we've never seen before.
Mhm.
Like I had never seen Henry Cavill before in anything, so when he came on as Superman, I was like, "Whoa, this is Clark Kent. This is Superman." So I think getting a kind of someone who hasn't been seen in the grand Hollywood scene would be kind of cool, because then we actually get to see that character as Wally West or as Barry Allen.
Oh, you know what?
I
Fuck
think
it.
Idris Elba would probably be the best choice.
Yes.
No. Tom Cruise as Barry Allen. He likes to run.
No.
Maybe
He likes to run in all of his movies. So.
we'll see what happens. They're probably gonna have to recast that thing. It's the Ezra Miller stuff isn't going away.
Yeah.
We've
Who's that
also
guy
got
in
Common
Elvis?
Sense. If Sheridan blocks, did you reveal about Matt Price's relation with Darkseid? Is Matt Grail's son? If Matt is a clone, that's too cliche because of Connor.
Mm-hmm. If Sheridan blocking, did you reveal?
I don't know.
You know what? I figured it out. Best way that they could recast the entire DCEU, just make The Rock play everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The Rock as Wonder Woman, The Rock as Barry Allen, The Rock as Wally West, and just have him acting across from himself the entire time. Just The Rock as everyone.
I'll be honest, Common Sense. I'm not really sure what was going on there with the relationships and the kids and stuff like that. But I wouldn't dwell on it too much, because Tim Sheridan definitely isn't going to be writing for DC Comics very much longer. Let's get into this last. Hopefully, we'll be able to get one more topic in, but we got to talk about the Millarworld stuff. Obviously, Mark Millar did come on the channel. We had a good conversation. He was breaking news all week. First, we got the news that Jorge Hernandez is going to be doing the next Nemesis Reloaded. Pepe Larraz is going to be doing a big Millarworld crossover called Big Gabe. And his next series, the new one coming out with Juan Ramirez on art, it's called, Nightclub. It's about some vampires who want to be heroes. Is going to cost $1.99 per issue. Doc, you are a Mark Millar fan. Which one was the biggest announcement of all of them?
I am looking forward to. Well, I'm looking for, because he made some other announcements in there too. I want to see whatever he's doing with Quietly again. That one I definitely want to see.
He's not announcing that until next year, or like December.
The Quietly and the McNiven ones, I'm all about. The American Jesus Chapter 3, all about. But I don't think I'm really that interested in Big Game. Especially if it does turn out to be kind of a crossover between, because all it is, I mean, yes, it's once again Mark Millar taking a modern comic writer's idea and then doing it fucking better, the same way Space Bandits was just Kim and Kim but better. And this is Donny Cates' crossover but better.
Yeah, but which one are you excited about? Which one do you think was
the
biggest news? $1.99 for a comic book. You probably haven't seen that.
You know what? I mean, other than Alterna.
But I think bring up in the conversation.
Yeah, but I think for a colored, full color comic book that's not on newsprint, I think that is a great thing. The nightclub story, I'm kind of into it, but I like the price point better. Honestly, we needed somebody doing it, and Todd's attempt at going to $2.99 was good, but there's still other comics that are out there that are $2.99.
The only other ones that are for like mainstream audiences, like Saga.
Yeah. And so, but going to $199, that's big. And it could start, especially if it's successful. If it's financially successful and sells a shit ton of copies, you are going to see other publishers get some pressure, be it from the audience, the retailers, possibly their shareholders, putting pressure, going, hey, this fucking Mark Millar guy is doing all of his books, or one book or 5 books. I don't know how many he's doing, but I know at least one at $1.99. And if he could do 5 of them, he will be in the entire top 5. He will take the entire top 5 month in, month out that he has a book out, and just because of price point. And it will look bad on other publishers, and it may create some pressure to push price points down.
That would be awesome.
That is, I think, the biggest thing that I'm more interested in the long-term ramifications of the success of this than the actual project itself.
That's the hope. That's the hope, is that he kind of is a trailblazer for bringing down the price point of these comic books. The only thing is that he's doing this at a time where it's a recession, which is a good thing, but it may also be an interesting thing for Marvel and DC, because they are realizing that comics aren't a necessity. They're a luxury. And so for a lot of people, they're dropping books, they're dropping pull lists, they're trying to sell their collections, because in a recession, that's what you have to do. You have to start prioritizing. But with a $1.99 comic, why not pick it up? That's $2. I'm absolutely picking up whatever it is.
Yeah. Even if you hate it.
Exactly.
You didn't lose anything.
Right. But if you're going in on a Superman comic for $10, you know what I mean? It's like, oh man.
For each issue too, huh? I mean, that's $30, and when you're done with it, and it's going to be cheaper as a collection too, because they always are.
Yeah.
Just wait for the graphic novel.
And as Max said, the Mark is a trailblazer. The entire, all of comics right now, every single one of those hacks using comics as a stepping stone to Hollywood is all of them trying to repeat Mark's success with Netflix.
Yes.
Yep.
Every single fucking one of them.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point.
Maybe he can start being a trailblazer for the publishers and the retailers too.
You're right in that a lot of the individual creators have tried to replicate Millar's success with Netflix. However, most of them have failed.
Oh yeah, they failed. Well, that's because they're hacks and he's good. There's a difference.
Right. But the same thing applies to the comic. I applaud Mark for going Mr. Millar, if you prefer. I applaud him for going for the lower price point, although you've already pointed out Alternative's been doing that for years. But there's my where I'm struggling to wrap my brain around whether or not this is a net benefit or not is I always go back to the axioms, and it's axiomatic that people do not buy what they don't already want. They have to like it. They won't go out, even if it's cheap, unless it's free and they've got nothing better to do with their $1.99. They don't go after stuff that they don't already like. Now, the thing that interests me out of the Millarworld announcement is with the vampires, because I'm a horror fan. I love horror. Vampires already got my attention. So, but that's me. So unless Millar is producing something that has broad mass appeal, even if it's at a low price point, people are not going to buy it. Not consistently and forever.
No, you're right.
At the beginning, maybe they'll try their first issue. Maybe they'll get hooked. But for a lot of people, there's got to be something that speaks to me to say, even if it's $1.99, then I'm going to go after it. That's and he's not, unless you're like me, like you're into vampires and horror. That's one thing, but if nothing in that list has mass appeal to, like, for example, we're talking to a largely superhero crowd now in chat and everything else. What in there sounds like something that would appeal to people who love Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, the Justice League, whatever. I don't see anything that lists that kind of speaks to that same content preference.
No, and however,
he's going to have something to overcome. He's got something to overcome there.
Well, here's the thing with this particular price point. Under $2 is what general, marketing and advertising people will qualify as impulse buy, especially for something like this. This is still impulse buy territory. If you
but
can,
it has to be present. It has to be at hand at the time of checkout to do that.
I understand that. I
I
understand
think that's
that.
the plan. Is if you make it $1.99 and they buy a bunch of copies, they want to sell them.
Yes,
You throw it
they're
up
going.
Next
They're
day,
going to
you're like,
stick
hey, this is
one.
$1.99. It's
Yeah,
Mark
you're gonna-
Miller, the guy from Civil War, the guy that did Old Man Logan, the guy that did Red Sun, the
Exactly.
Kingsman, Kick-Ass.
And long term on this is if you can put downward pressure on the price point, you can then push it back into impulse buy territory, which is what will allow it to get back into mainstream normie locations. The reason why comics aren't at fucking 7-Eleven anymore is because they're $4, not because nobody bought them. At $2, they were still there.
Yep.
Do you guys think people will buy these comics for $1.99 and will continue to buy
It's
them?
only going to be
just
the one comic. It's just the Nightclub, which is going to be a limited series like all of the Millarworld stuff is. And it is being developed
Just
for
to kinda-
Netflix. Yes.
Okay, so it's
To see
almost kind of
what's
like a
gonna
proof of concept, right?
Yes, he
Right.
wants to see what'll happen.
Do you think people will buy the entire run, just that short series at $1.99, just to kind of prove if you make this price point, we will come and buy these types of books? Because I've heard of a couple people saying, I'm just going to buy every issue, doubles even, and give them out to friends, because if at that price point, I want to, one, support the creator who's making that price point, and two, it's a great introduction because then you can give people these cheaper comic books and have them read it. But I don't know. I mean, I think I have heard a few people saying that they want to kind of make this super successful to kind of show others that this is a price point that people will come to. But like you said, Gabe, it also depends on how much people resonate with the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly an interesting concept. It's something you could make a movie or TV show about.
Yeah,
Become
I'm
a
not
vampire,
saying-
but you don't want to be evil. You want to be a superhero. So you're
Yeah, I'm
going to
not
help
saying
people.
I'm not saying it's wrong or that's going to fail. It's just you have to combine price point with content appeal. They have to be together. So if you're creating a comic that's only going to have a very a smaller niche appeal audience, there's a larger hurdle to overcome. I'm not saying it can't be done, and I'm not saying it won't work. It depends on how good the story is. But you're not speaking to the large market audience with that type of content.
Here's the other thing to look at. We are entering into a recession. People are going to be much less likely to try new things. Newer books are going to have a larger, or like a bigger hurdle to climb. They already have a fairly large hurdle in the fact that there's not as many fucking comic book readers anymore.
There's more comic book readers now than there ever have been, Doc.
Comics
just
are
not
booming.
reading DC and Marvel.
I'm not. I don't. Sorry, I don't consider.
Donald said so I believe it.
I don't consider. I don't
the
consider
sales in the growth in the industry,
Here
Gabe,
comes.
and you've seen the numbers. Say that out.
I do not consider manga comics. The end. I do not
doesn't
consider
matter.
Dogman
Doc, it is
comics.
comics.
I'm talking about
It
the
is
actual
comics.
comic shop market.
Mhm.
Not fucking Dogman, not manga. That's entirely, they're separate
They're
fucking
comic books,
categories.
Doc.
I
There's
want to
more
mention
comic
something
Then
on that.
golden books are comic books, in which case we had a shit ton more in the 1980s because golden books sold 1 billion fucking copies every book.
Look,
All right,
Doc's
guys,
just
can
a
we
hater. He's
just
just
talk-
a hater, and we need to drop him.
Guys are just
That's
like-
all I'm gonna say.
But my point is, when there's a limited market and there's a limited opportunity for you to try to grab some of these readers into the comic book market, people are going, and it's between a handful of other unknown indies and the one that's $1.99. You're going to try the one that's $1.99.
I would. I want to say one thing about alternative comics. I live in Boston. I'm blessed with several local comic shops. I have never seen an alternative comic sold at any of these LCSs. So who's doing this? Is an Image comic, right? Nightclub.
Yes.
So that's going to have the distribution power that that Peter lacks from being adjacent to what it is.
That plus Peter left Diamond a while ago, and
Yeah.
he's doing his own distribution.
But I
Which
mean,
a
my
lot-
local comic shops don't carry Alterna. None of them. I've never seen an Alterna, and I would love to. If I saw Alterna at that price point, I would definitely pick it up, and it would have my interest, and I would probably pick up a few just out of the price point and out of the respect of perpetuating the love of comics, and be like, hey, we are buying new comic books. This is a great price. Like, these are interesting new characters, and yeah, but I've never seen an Alterna, and at any of these comic books, I get several. Literal. We're blessed to have so many.
So what do you think, MVP? You're a comic book fan. What about these Millarworld announcements got you excited that you weren't just like, oh my goodness, how can I tear this apart and how it's going to fail? Between Big Game, the big crossover, which I think Pepe the Raz doing the Kingsman and Kick-Ass in the same comic book would be something that I would want to see. That's a great artist. Is it Nemesis coming back with Jorge Jimenez, one of the great comic book artists in the industry today, bringing back that character, or perhaps it's the 199 comic book?
I think all of it is like, I know it's the classic, like, oh, which movie of Star Wars do you like? Oh, I just like all the Star Wars. And it's like, no, you can't say that. But in all actuality, I do, just his overarching approach to this is why I am very excited about this Millarverse. It's his love, because as we saw in your interview, Wes, this dude is ecstatic whenever he talks about comics. He lights up, and he's always got something positive to say. So I love his passion, and I love his tenacity and creativity with how he's bringing these back. He's got great creatives, like big name creatives on here where you go, I know that guy. And then you also have characters that he's bringing back and new characters. So he's trying everything. And I respect that a lot in an industry that seems to be very stale when it comes to name LGBTQ representation of the week. It's just copy paste. Now we're actually getting something creative, new. And, like at the beginning of the show, when we started talking about that initial tweet by, was it Tim Sheridan? Sorry.
Sheridan.
I get Tim Sheridan, who's like
Some other
gaslighting. Tim Seeley, Tim Sheridan.
Pick your hack named Tim.
Tims and Toms.
So, I hate to say all the Star Wars, quote unquote, but I really do appreciate the entirety of his approach here.
I do want to say we are at like 185 likes right now. We could get
Nice.
over 200 by the time we're done. If you're watching the video and you haven't said thumbs up to this bad boy and let people know we're having a good time, definitely do that. We would definitely appreciate it. But I'm pretty excited about all this stuff. Obviously, I did get to have Mark here on the channel. Maybe I'm a little bit more happy than most people. What did you think, Eric? Obviously, you're a big comic book fan. Are you going to be picking out these comic books? Are you a big Millarworld fan?
Yes, I was in the Millarworld 1.0. Let's put it that way. When it came out, I was really into Jupiter's Legacy. I feel bad that I kind of dropped the ball on that and never completed it. But I love Frank Whiteley's art. Oh gosh, Millar's such a great writer. I loved Chrononauts. I loved MPH. If you don't know MPH, it's a 3-issue simple story, and I think that's a real diamond in the rough. And I'm so surprised why Netflix hasn't adapted that. That has all the representation and diversity just baked into this thing from the get-go.
I think it's because it's 3 issues and they want something that's a longer story. That's the way I kind of understood it.
True, but as it goes, it could be fleshed out, it could be adapted, and I just think that one's a gem. And I love Starlight, and I loved Kick-Ass 1 and 2. I was 3 didn't have it. But
so you excited for the big crossover? You're going to get Pepe the Raz illustrating essentially all these franchises together?
Yeah, I'll pick it up just because everyone's talking such great buzz about it. I don't think I've ever consciously picked up a Pepe Larraz book, and I'm looking forward to getting into.
Do you like Star Wars?
I love all the Star Wars.
Do you like the Star Wars Rebels show that they had there for a while?
Yeah, I liked it.
So Kanan Jarrus, you're familiar with that character?
Oh yeah.
There's a miniseries written by Greg Weisman, illustrated by Pepe the Raz, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I think you should check it out. and you can see his art. He's better now, and it's got Greg Weisman, so it's a damn good, well-written comic story as well.
That's awesome. I like your recommendations. You swing for the fences, and I've been benefiting from this and going back to the comic book store after a couple of years. You know what I mean? This has been the best thing for me, is to get back to my local comic book shop, and I'm really thrilled with that. And
that's why we do the best of the week this Saturday, or I guess tomorrow on Sunday. It's actually going to be Gabe and myself talking about all the best comic books of the week. Gabe.
Yep.
We had to do a little extra hard work because this wasn't the best comic book week ever.
It was a soft week. I'm going to be honest with you on that. But we found a few, I think we call it diamonds in the rough. Not eye shine, high quality, high cut, but there's some decent ones.
Yeah. Last week it was like 6 indie comics we recommended. This week is only 2. So
it was a little soft.
My goodness, these bots keep wanting me to go to this dating
I know. I was about to say that.
They're on to me.
It's the 3rd time.
Yeah, I've gotten them twice now, but fuck those people.
They saw
I'm
Eric
my own
wearing that
boss,
tank
so I was
top, and they
able
were
to do it.
going,
They're like,
"Oh
hey,
man,
we got Max, we got Eric, we got hey, hubba.
Man, remember last time when Eric was on here and he didn't have like a shirt on? He was just showing off his chest hair.
I had an Adidas track
Oh, you had a
jacket on.
tracksuit. That was right.
Yes,
Pat
bro.
on that.
The rest
He was
of
open
the-
for business, though. You know what I'm saying?
I fell out the Hawkeye comic.
So, Carrie, did you get to talk about? Are there any of these specifically speaking to you? I know you're more of a manga person, but Millarworld has done some manga-like stuff. They had the anime show. What is it? Super Crooks. That was on Netflix. It was certainly anime inspired.
Well, the one I'm really interested into is because I never jumped into the series, but now that I'm hearing more about it, is Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
What if Batman was the Joker?
Yes,
that's interesting.
And of course, the vampire one, because I like supernatural stuff. So
I think it looks kind of cool because they have luchador masks on.
yes.
yeah."
So, Gabe, you don't think vampires and superheroes and luchador wrestling comes together as something that crosses over to everybody?
I mean, it has my attention just because I like weird stuff. But I'm sorry. Let me clarify that a little bit. If you're trying to get the attention of a mass market superhero audience, that's a little bit of a tough sell. It's just a little bit of a tough
more
sell.
people read.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm speaking in generalities. I'm not saying it's going to be bad or anything like that. I mean, and this is Mark Millar, so he's good, but well. If you have people who are super invested in Green Lantern, Superman, X-Men, that kind of thing, that one might be you're gonna have to push the marketing on that one a little bit harder to get people to pick it up.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons that they're trying the $1.99 thing, to see if they can get some buzz going about it that way, just to be a better value. It kind of reminds me. Did you ever see that movie Full Eclipse? It seems like you would have seen that.
This sounds familiar.
Mario Van Peebles.
Oh,
yes,
Where he turns into a werewolf, and it
I
turns
remember
out
that.
he joins a SWAT team, and the whole SWAT team is werewolves.
They have to inject
Yeah.
themselves with that fluid.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that. Not a great movie. It was okay.
But it's a great concept. I
It's
was
cheesy,
I thought it
it's
was
cheesy.
fun.
Now, if you're going to do,
it was an HBO made for HBO movie.
it's very much in that line. I mean, if you're talking werewolf movies, then we got to get into like Dog Soldiers, maybe The Howling, that kind of thing. That's they're not even on the same level.
Tevya asks, is Millarworld his own universe? So
No, it's a
Millarworld
multiverse.
is essentially all of his creator-owned stuff that he did after Marvel and DC. And Marvel, I know initially he published some of it on Iconic brand, and there was another one with Marvel, right?
He did Kick-Ass with Icon, which was Marvel's.
Icon. And there was another
Epic
one.
was already gone.
Epic, yes.
Yeah,
he did some stories on Epic as well. But when he sold his Millarworld stuff, which was all his creator-owned stuff, to Netflix, it's its own brand within Netflix now. And he's like a Netflix executive. This is what he is. And Millarworld is all the things that are his creations that they're developing for Netflix.
Some of them occur in the same universe. Most of them are. It's basically a multiverse. It's just a bunch of his own one-off, sometimes sequeled stories. That they're all miniseries, so they don't really. There wouldn't really be any connective tissue between them. But yeah, he's done it since he was still at Marvel and DC.
Yeah, like 2012.
Yeah, it was earlier than that. The first Kick-Ass was in 2007, 8. if not earlier. Because he did the first round of them was Kick-Ass, The Unfunnies, War Heroes, which never finished, Wanted, and Chosen. And they were all with different publishers.
Yeah. So it's all kind of under his umbrella now. And Netflix essentially owns all the stuff that wasn't produced into a movie before that. Like they weren't able to acquire the rights to like Kick-Ass and stuff like that. I guess that's one of the things we're waiting for is for like Nemesis and some of the other things that he made where there was options out in films to come back to Netflix and stuff. So we'll see what happens there. We do have a few super chats here. Kenneth Dowling says, "What's up, guys? I just got off of work, which sucks. I wanted to catch Comics Aficionados. Really enjoyed last weekend. And I agree with Gabe. The Gabe is right show. My goodness. The dude from Riverdale as Barry. Yeah. Are you a big Riverdale fan, Gabe? I could see that, I guess.
Never seen it.
Oh, you just know who the actor is.
I'm just very well informed.
There you go. Is this the Gabe is right show, Gabe? What are you taking Doc's spot?
Patent pending. Copyrights being filed as we speak.
He's got the best shirt on the panel. That's the most disappointing thing about all this.
Going old school.
Gabe also
I need to
did get
one of those
some.
for my son. He loves Super Mario.
Yeah.
Gabe got some notoriety this past week. He posted that panel and just blew up.
Yeah. The first
that is the inspiration for a video that's coming up where I'm going to take some of the cringiest panels of the week.
Oh my goodness.
Gabe inspired me.
Stephanie Phillips and Harley Quinn strikes again.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Kenneth Dowling says, question, I'm creating a villain who was a serial killer with the last name Kelly for my book. What is a great first name to go with Kelly? I would call him Killer Kelly.
Doc Kelly.
Ooh. Better than Killer Kelly?
Doc Kelly. Sure.
Kelly from the WWE in the mid 2000s.
Didn't she date the Clune?
I think so. No, that was the other one. That was the
yes,
leggy one.
Yes, Miss Hancock when she was in WCW. There you go. I say Killer Kelly. Gabe says Kelly? Doc Kelly. We got any other suggestions for a bad guy with the name Kelly?
King Kelly.
King Kelly?
Hello.
Another one? I'm sorry. What would you say there, Carrie?
Hella Kelly.
Carrie Kelly. How about that one?
Hella Kelly.
Helen Kelly.
Helen Kelly.
I'm sorry.
Not good.
That's rude. I love it.
I know.
It's rude and I love it.
Does he remove people's eyes and tongues?
Stabby Kelly.
Fuck.
I like that. He removes the eyes and tongues and ears.
Oh, damn. Garth Ennis over here.
I like that.
Hopefully you got some good suggestions there, Kenneth. Common Sense says Mark Millar created Tangent Superman 2. Is he talking about Superior? I know that's like his Superman.
Tangent superhero? Wasn't that the
I thought Tangent was a DC thing.
I thought it was like Stan Lee creates the DC universe.
I don't recall.
It was before. No, it was after that.
Okay.
The Tangent stuff. Oh, I think it was around the time of the 1 million.
He was originally Harvey Dent.
Mm-hmm.
Got his powers through an accident. Ultra humanized.
Earth 9.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's why you never use your best stuff when you're at DC. You never get your money for it. That's why you go create Millarworld.
Yeah.
Make your own money.
Exactly. Listen to Stan. Stan the man.
Get it. Like Doc, absolutely love your casting choice of Leonardo DiCaprio's T'Challa.
Yep.
So that's been happening.
Yep. I'm
Make
still
it so.
sticking with it. Make it happen, Captain.
Leonardo DiCaprio. People would get in trouble for that one, but it would be fun. The videos themselves would be fun to make. Let's put it that way. Common Sense. Don't make Ring of Power more powerful by hate watching. Buy and read Millar's Reborn and Original Fantasy instead. I will not be watching the Ring of Power unless I'm absolutely forced to. I have no intention to. But I do have Prime Video.
I'll check it out.
No skin in that game. Thank God.
Don't care.
You're not a Tolkien guy?
No. I grew up in the Death Star, not the Shire.
You can like both. You don't have to be a doc where you plant your flag in one thing and decide that's the only thing you can like the rest of your life.
It's not the only thing I can like. It's just the only thing I do like.
I grew up to be a big fan of those Jackson movies. Let me tell you. I mean, those are that's really good cinema. That's really good music. It's great everything. I mean, and that won me over.
I can't keep track of any of them people's fucking names. That's why I don't like it.
Don't watch The Wire then.
I kept track of everybody's names in The Wire.
The Shard Galaxy with all those stupid names there.
I don't know.
Empire
Maybe because they don't suck.
They all have X's in them. Like,
They don't. Those characters don't suck. They're actually interesting, and the other ones are like 43 variations of the same one. They're all
pretty
like,
much everyone who's
they're
written
all midget
superheroes
with
for you
hairy
was likely
feet.
inspired by Tolkien's writing. Doc.
That's fine.
You're just hearing new versions of his stories that he already told.
That's fine. It's just a bunch of midgets with fucking hairy feet.
Yeah.
You ready for a hot take?
I'm sorry.
Star Wars is the
go
science
ahead.
fantasy version of the Lord of the Rings.
Good. I
Star
don't really care about Star
No,
Wars.
it's not.
either.
It's a science fantasy version of that Japanese movie he lifted everything from.
I don't think.
You have a fellowship of eclectic characters that have to get a little object, Death Star plans, to the army so they can defeat an enemy that is in the shape of a giant eye. Star Wars is the Lord of the Rings.
Ooh, that's a nice interpretation. I can dig that.
I'm sorry. I don't think I can be on a panel with Doc anymore. That was
I felt that way for about 3 years now, but I'm persevering, I guess.
Doc, I love you, brother, but man, to say that those characters don't have any depth to them, that is.
The only thing I've seen is the fucking movies, and they're boring as hell. None of those characters have any depth.
3PO and R2 are Mary and Pip.
Mary and Pippin, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cute. I like that.
Han Solo is
That's the
Aragorn.
way to describe that, yeah.
Han Solo
Cute
is
idea you got
Aragorn.
there, Gabe.
He comes in from the forest and marries his love. Yeah, there you go.
Star
That
Wars.
works,
is the Lord of
Guys,
the
I
Rings.
gotta get out of here. Kenneth Dowling, highly recommend Batman 126. Awesome. Zdarsky had more action, thrills, and suspense in one issue than Tynan did in nearly half of his entire run. I agree with you.
Yes.
And Wes and I are going to talk about that in the best of video.
Absolutely. That is a little sneak peek. We are definitely going to be talking about Batman 126. I already did kind of a full review as Josh as well. I really enjoyed that issue.
Oh, this is great because we can back to the old style conversations. Hello, Lord of the Rings is better than Star Wars. No, Star Wars is better than Lord of the Rings.
Fuck
I love it.
everybody. Like, fuck them all. They all suck.
I gave Clerks too.
They read about Star Trek.
Doc's like, Star Wars got nothing on Alpha Flight. And I was like, dude, get out of here with that shit, Doc. Fucking lame ass takes. Fucking Alpha Flight.
Where's my red dwarf love?
Sasquatch, man.
Red dwarf.
You obviously haven't seen Blake 7.
Gedda says, Wes Matthew Kelly. That's it. Congratulations, Wes. You are my serial killer.
Wow.
Well, I never really wanted to inspire anybody to be a serial killer in a fiction story, but I guess I don't know. I think Killer Kelly or perhaps was it Helen Kelly would have been
Helen
better.
Kelly. Helen Kelly for the win.
Hella Kelly.
You'd be mad too
Wes
if you were a
Matthew.
boy named Sue.
Hella.
Hella.
Listen, if you're looking for a villain, you just Maxfield Von Priestly. That's the villain. It's the name's right there.
We had didn't we have a discussion one of these streams like a couple months back where I think it was actually Kenneth who said, Max, you have a great villain name. It's almost kind of like a Victor Von Doom, the Maxfield Von Priestly thing. So of course my own ego would say I'd love to be a hero, but
If I wrote the story and when I introduced you, you'd be wearing some like really short shorts and like you'd have a tennis racket. You know what I mean? Probably like
I think
a little sweater over your neck.
yeah,
He'd be fucking Johnny Polo.
Yeah.
very proper, very kind of bougie,
Like some half cheek hanging out of the shorts. You know what I'm saying? Short shorts.
yeah. Not like I haven't done that before. Our PT shorts.
I've
in
seen
the
your
military
PT
are
gear in the
pretty-
Marine. Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
Those things, like, those are flapping. You can see some ball hair working out. You know what I mean?
You make one wrong move and you've got a wardrobe malfunction on your hands.
Happy Steve. The Gabe is Right show featuring Doc. Oh, and I guess Wes and his friends are there too. Great show. Hit the like button. Oh my goodness. The Gabe is. Gabe, are you
Gabe.
opened up your own YouTube channel? What's going on, Gabe? People like
my YouTube channel's been quiet for a while, but I've talked to Wes a little bit, and we might be starting something. Not we, just we talked a little bit, and I'm going to share, Wes, if you don't mind, I'm going to share some feedback. I asked Wes, what do you think? What should I do? And he says to me, yeah, I think you would do great with a YouTube show because you're not an idiot. It's like,
true.
okay. That's
the first key to being a good YouTuber. Don't be an idiot.
Don't be an idiot. So that's
why I don't
praise
have
I get,
one.
I'll go for it.
Yeah, that's why Doc would never be a good YouTuber. He'd get himself in trouble.
Also, I would probably stream on Pornhub.
Well, that's
that would be another mistake.
And my first video will be obviously why Space 1999 is better than Blake 7.
Dude. But definitely thanks to everybody for hitting the like button. We ended up over 215. That's great.
Nice.
For within the show itself. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Happy Steve. I hope that's your puppy because he looks like a very handsome young gentleman. Although it could be a girl because you never can tell with dogs unless
You don't want to misgender.
You don't want to misgender the dog. Ideator says Starlight by Millar is underrated.
Yes.
That
Totally.
is true.
Yes.
Are you waiting for the show on Netflix for Starlight?
Is it coming? Is it forthcoming?
All the stuff theoretically that Millar has made and is working on could end up on Netflix as an animated show or live action.
That would be
Unfortunately,
fun.
Jupiter's Legacy, I guess, ended up being too expensive,
Mhm.
so there won't be a second season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you think? Can they do Starlight for a decent budget there, Eric?
I don't know. You could do MPH for a really decent budget, but Starlight, it's fun. I mean, it's like a great conclusion of Buck Rogers or Adam Strange. You know what I mean? That the old science hero of the Silver Age, and it was just so much fun. It had intrigue, it had romance, it had responsibility, a big hero, someone to root for. I mean, it's nice, simple storytelling.
Oh,
Check
that
it out.
stuff that's worked for thousands of years that we've just thrown by the wayside.
Yeah.
Happy Steve came back and he let us know he is a great dog and his name is Quinn. That is a good name for a dog.
Aw.
I say, well done, sir. Not everyone has a great dog name. Kenneth Dowling, MVP, I respected your wishes and made you an ambiguous character.
Like my gender is ambiguous
yeah,
or my sexuality is ambiguous.
Is he androgynous? He made you androgynous. I'm okay with that. Wes M. Kelly is a character's real name, not his villain name. That's in the book. There you go.
Well, that's
Let's see
awesome,
it.
Kenneth. Thank you, sir.
We're inspiring storytelling. Last week, was it last week or the week before when we came up with our bank heist doc?
Oh yeah.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Dowling inspired a bank heist story. So that was lots of fun. So we are 2 hours and 48 minutes into the show, so I don't think we're going to hit the rest of the topics. I do apologize, but we do have a little bit of fun here when we get into these conversations. Definitely like interacting with you guys, and we do go on some side quests a la Lord of the Rings, Doc.
Fuck them
side journey.
hobbits.
You're a hobbit, Doc.
Well, Frodo.
Fuck Frodo. Throw them all in the volcano. Throw the whole fucking universe in the volcano.
Hey, remember Gandalf sent 3 eagles. He sent one for Gollum as well. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah,
You know what?
Obi-Wan
They-
Kenobi is just Gandalf in disguise.
They catch a fucking flight of
Clerks do
eagles
all over again.
and then get dropped off still like 50 miles from their destination. You called the Eagle Uber. Have them taking you the whole fucking way.
Eagles, Millennium Falcon, Eagles.
All right, guys, we're doing comic book recommendations. I want to hear any more Doc's dumb hot takes or Gabe trying to ruin my love of stories that were original. O'Sullivan, you are the Sultan of Soup. You
Yes,
got a
I
YouTube
am.
channel. You like to tell people how or teach people how to cook. You're a chef as
Yes.
well as a comic book connoisseur yourself. What are you recommending this week?
This week, the only 2 comics I bought this week. I got Dark Crisis #3. I'm a big fan of Crisis stories. This is not that bad. It's not that good. It's got 3 different inkers on it, so I'm like really not sold on the art too much. Yet it's only part 3 of 7, so I'm gonna see where it goes.
You're almost there, brother.
I got into this title from the show, and I'm going to stick to it. Why not? It gives me an excuse to go to the comic book store. I also have the latest edition of Dragon Ball Super, volume number 16. It's been the one comic book I've bought continually over the past 4 years since I started my lapse. And it's not entirely great, but it looks so good. I mean, it's if
Do you still call that a comic book?
in a way. I'm sorry, Doc.
No,
But,
it's a comic book. I agree with you.
but it's
not.
it's just a Japanese funny book, man. Yeah, it's got art, sequential.
Look how beautiful it is. I can
It's
tell right
It's
here.
got panels, it's got art, it's got dialogue. It's a
Yeah,
comic book.
and it's simple and it's familiar, and it's like I'm Team Vegeta all the way, and it's my old friends. I get to hang out with my old friends.
Did you
4
say you're
times a year.
team vagina all way?
Yeah, totally, man.
Look,
Why would you hear?
in all seriousness, Vegeta's arc that converts him from a villain to a hero is one of the best heel turns in comics in decades. That switch when he's in the Bibbidi Saga, where he has that internal dialogue where he explains how he envies Goku and why that makes him want to be a better person, is some of the best writing you'll find around anywhere, hands down.
Yeah, he had a story moment like that in Super where he's like, Moro is killing all the new Namekians, and Vegeta steps up and says, I did these people untold harm, and I will not allow you to hurt even one of them. I'm like, damn, that's a story moment. That's a character moment. I was so proud of him. Isn't it cool to be proud of your favorite fictional heroes?
Man, did you watch? You know about Twilight, right?
Yes.
I was Team Jacob.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way. I even had a
Werewolves,
shirt.
right?
That's
Team
Team
Blade.
Jacob.
Werewolves again. We come full circle. But those are thank you. And those are my 2 suggestions for this week. Yeah, Dark Crisis ain't that bad. Yeah.
If you didn't say Crisis on it, I think it would be better because it kind of raises the expectations. But technically, it's good. I like the art. We'll see what happens with it. Kenneth Daly does want to clarify MVP. The ambiguity has nothing to do with your sex or gender, but rather whether you're good or evil in the book. Peace.
Oh, thank you for clearing that up, Kenneth. I'm very relieved now.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
So MVP, what comic book you recommended this week?
Do a Powerbomb issue number 2. Daniel Warren Johnson continues to break the mold of just standardized comic tropes. He has created these different visions of whether it's Murder Falcon, whether it's Extremity, whether it's now Do a Powerbomb. He takes the things that he loves, like the sound of Pantera and Metallica and all the Slayer, and he puts it into a metal comic like Murder Falcon. But now he's taking his love of wrestling and doing that into a Powerbomb. And in issue number 2, we get a huge reveal at the end of the book, and it just reminded me of those old 80s and 90s cliffhangers where like you get that big splash page and you go, I gotta wait another month until I find out what happens. And I love that feeling. Daniel Warren Johnson continues to bring the heat on this book. It transcends all creativity, and it continues to, like I said, just be a big hit.
I got Gabe to Do a Powerbomb number 1. He wasn't planning on it.
Yep.
And we were going to talk about the best of the week, and he ended up loving it.
Yep. It was great.
Yeah.
I wish you would bring some of that creativity to Jurassic League.
I thought you were going to say, I wish you'd bring that creativity to your show. I'm like, man, I'm doing the best I can.
No, I'm too
I'm working
kind
with
for
what
that.
I got here.
I would never say something too unkind.
To be fair, Gabe, I do think that even though the writing is a little, standard mid, it is nice to see like Dino Superman is Super Sore.
I don't care.
Super Sore is more Superman than Mark Russell's Superman.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
That
like,
is
He's
that is a
Superman,
true
but he's
statement.
a dinosaur. That's
That is a true
lack of
statement. I
creativity.
will agree with you on that. That's a true statement.
That's great.
so that's why I like it.
All right, Carrie. Are you recommending any comic books, or are you going to recommend manga? Because Doc doesn't think they're one and the same.
Manga is
One of
They
each.
aren't.
One of each.
Okay.
The first one, it's okay. I think it's got potential. I'm not crazy about the art, but I'm still going to give the next one a chance, and that's Gambit, Chris Claremont.
Oh,
It's not bad.
This
Now,
is
yes,
Kochi and
the
art, I
next
believe,
one-
right?
Yes. Then I have Tokyo Revengers, which is a
Mhm.
manga / comic book.
It's
I
manga.
recommend that one.
Doc
It's a
is
Japanese
wrong.
comic book that they refer to as manga.
It's manga. It's fine. It's not a comic book. Those are two different things. Otherwise, they wouldn't. Okay, they're fucking John Jackson Miller that needs to redefine what a comic book is to not show that the fucking industry is declining. Oh, because we haven't done that for the last 5 years.
All right, Doc, we're on comic book recommendations. We're doing a little teasing. There's no need to rate now.
I want to be on record as saying I publicly disavow Doc's othering of comic categorization. That's all.
Othering, yeah.
You've been
Ghettoizing.
disavowing Doc for 3 years.
So do you disavow Comicron 5 years ago when it didn't consider fucking manga comic books?
Yes, go look at the
Marriage
records.
of
I've disavowed them every single time.
All right, fine. you That's fine. You're still wrong. You were wrong now. You were wrong 5 years ago. They're not.
All right,
comic.
Carrie. So those are your recommendations. You got anything else for us?
Like I said, I'm doing a story about Sony buying up rights to anime and getting rid of a certain genre of manga from there for people to buy. So they've now owned Crunchyroll, Funimation, and Right Stuff Anime.
Very nice. Skip and Tosh wants to clear the record. Oxford's definition of manga, a style of Japanese comic book and graphic novels, typically aimed at adults as well as children. Takahashi is an artist who truly represents the very best from the world of manga.
Yeah. Manga is its own
Did you
thing.
win an Eisner?
You will see Skip and Tosh on the channel next week. He's also recommending New Fantastic Four #3 from Peter David, Aquaman Andromeda #2 by Ram V, That Texas Blood 16 by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips.
I think it's Ram the Fifth, isn't it?
I don't know. I just call him Ram V.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't worry about this stuff like that. Gabe, you and I are going to talk about recommendations tomorrow in the best of the week. Is there anything else that you need to say before we wrap this up with Doc?
No, tune in for the video that comes up tomorrow because we got a lot to talk about, even though it was sort of a soft week. As always, shameless plug, follow Weird Science DC Comics for all your DC needs. Follow Weird Science Marvel Comics for all your manga needs. Follow Weird Science Manga Comics for all your manga needs. And for everything else, Dynamite, Zenoscope, Mad Cave, Valiant. If they survive another month or two, go to Comical Opinions. That's where you'll find me personally because I'm the guy in charge over there. And please follow along, and we would love to have you and talk about comics and do some reviews.
Very nice. All right, Doc, are you recommending any comic books or manga this week?
I'm going to recommend a couple comics, and I have no interest in manga. X-Men Red was not atrocious. It was exactly what we predicted when we reviewed Judgment Day or Axe #1.
They finally showed what happened.
Yeah, they showed all the shit that happened off panel. So basically that just fits into one page of this issue and the next couple issues, because of course it didn't finish in this issue. Are going to be one page of Axe #1. New Fantastic Four is still very good. And you know what? I didn't like this month's issue of Moon Knight.
It was soft. It was weak.
Yeah.
It was a little soft.
And Gambit wasn't. It was pretty good. Oh, Magic Order 3 #1. I like that. That's pretty much it from my end.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to give a special shout out to Burn Eye 2K, who's been watching us and posted a picture. It looks like he was eating a doner kebab. I haven't had a good doner kebab in like 8 years, and I'm absolutely jealous. I hope you enjoyed the food and the show. And Doc and I will be back tonight. There will be no comic book retrospective this week. We're going to be talking about the Chris Claremont stuff that came out of his C2E2 panel. Definitely be looking out for that one. And thank you very much for supporting the show, Burn Eye, and everyone else. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next
Thank
week
you.
right here on the Comics Aficionados.
Bye, guys.
And Skip will be with us. That'll